welcome to another exciting episode of Loss of Lieutenant. I'm your host, Tristan, and I'm joined by my fellow hosts, Jordan.
Hi.
Josh.
Hello.
And Jacob.
Hello.
All the J names today.
I know, all the J's.
We're infesting the place.
How are you going, Tristan?
I don't know if I like that one. I'm doing good.
What about Jizton?
Alright, let's hope that doesn't catch on.
It's on the internet now.
I am sending this to Val.
Don't you fucker, don't send that to
Val. Super quick. Did anyone start Craig?
No,
we don't need Craig. Fuck Craig.
We're doing OBS. It's fun.
Cool.
All right, guys. What are we talking about today?
We are holding a preemptive memorial for N4.
N4 is dead. Long live N4.
It's dying. This is us around the hospital bed crying as it's on life support, and we have to decide when we're going to pull the plug, which will be
that seems a bit
November.
morbid. I imagine.
Well, but the most morbid part about it is when you feel that really nice wave sense of relief after the.
Oh, Jesus. I
feel
would
it right
like
as
to
you're
imagine it.
as you're kicking the plug out of the fucking wall of their life.
Fucking hell, guys. I'm sitting here going, oh, nice N4. You live to 100 and you're about to die peacefully in your sleep.
You live to a ripe old age of 4.
I'm pulling out the plug to charge my phone.
Yeah. They got right to the fucking finish line, and then a bunch of fucking angry Aleph players walk into the room and just beat it to death for stealing Achilles.
Oh, I've been spending the last couple of weeks just really trying to on the Melbourne Infinity chat not to be. I know I failed to seem really triggered and coping really hard.
It's fine. It's okay. Aleph has many copies of Achilles. They probably just copy one. It's all good. It'll be all right. Everything will be okay.
I'd actually be really excited if they sort of flipped Steel Phalanx to be centered around another Greek character.
Yeah,
Odysseus. Or if it became all the whoever the Trojans were fighting, their guys, because we've already got Agamemnon, we've got Hector, we need Paris, and that's about it.
I'd be really keen for either the Argonauts with Jason or Heracles maybe.
Yeah, Heracles.
There is a couple.
That idea got me excited.
There's a couple pretty main characters that haven't been touched on.
Didn't we say that we weren't going to wax lyrical about our speculation about M5? Can we?
It's so hard not to do.
Someone tell the people about the challenges.
Well, we've got quarter 3, Lost of Lieutenant Custom Mission Challenge. It's already the end of quarter 3, so hopefully everyone's got their submissions coming in, or they're writing the submissions. Due to our successful launch of our Custom Mission Challenge last year, with even some of our listeners' missions becoming official ITS missions, we thought we'd run it again. So we present the Loss of Lieutenant Custom Mission Challenge 2024. This year, listeners may submit up to 2 custom missions each. If you submitted a mission to the previous custom mission and have an updated version, please feel free to submit an update as well. Let us know if your custom mission is intended to be competitive or narrative. We've got 2 categories. Once the challenge ends, we'll format, edit, compile them. Nick will, into a single document for distribution to the wider Affinity community, just like we did last year. We'll pick our favourites and we'll run a custom mission challenge like we did this year in Melbourne, and we'll tell everybody all about it. And the second half of our quarterly challenge is playing those custom missions. So some play testing. Please tell us about your experiences playing custom missions. Interesting mechanics that you might have found in yours or others' custom missions. What interesting mechanics you like? What did you break? Let us know all about it. We want to hear. Submit your entries to lostoflieutenant@gmail.com, and 2 random winners will be selected from this quarterly challenge.
Going off last year, there's still time before ITS 16 Part 2, so you might get a mission in the ITS.
Might
So
get the
submit it.
ITS 16.
We just need to like spam Heloise until he fucking responds. He's like, "Hey, we have more missions."
Yes, we are.
Remember that guy
I don't-
Dante?
Community has done the work for you. Let's move on. Move
I'm
it
not
in.
even sure we really did much when we did it last time. We sort of maybe
We got
told them
we got
about it.
we got Coney on to talk about them because
Yeah.
he read them and yeah, so it'll be cool to see CB's reaction to them as well. So we might do the same thing. Try and prod some CB people out of
Their
out
slumber.
of the N5
Coffee-filled
crunch
rush.
time.
Yeah.
crunch time, and we'll see if they can talk about the custom mission challenges with us because that'd be really fun.
Hmm.
And we've got our first N5 mission.
Well,
I do have some news on that.
Well,
So,
why don't you talk about it then, Tristan?
all right, upcoming events we have First Contact. It's now Last Contact N4 instead of First Contact N5.
Yay!
So, November 16th, Kensington Town Hall at the Mega Wargaming Convention. So, it's almost going to be like a showcase to other different wargaming communities about Infinity. Standard 300 points. The missions are still to be announced. Tickets are sold out. Some people might drop now that they found that it's only N4, not N5. So, contact myself or James Stallard if you want to be put on a waiting list. I can say the one N5 thing about this is we'll be using PS instead of whatever we use now.
Damage.
Oh,
Damage.
okay.
Everyone will have
That's
to be rolling
interesting.
under because 2 days after this, N5 comes out.
Yeah, sure. I mean, from talking to a couple of people about this event, it sounds like the last hurrah of N4. I know that Doug, I think, is planning on bringing some kind of Ski of Oros pile to at least one of his lists.
Doug and I have been deep in the chats talking about how to have some success with this Gearboros. So
Deep in the tank.
deep in the tank. I dug deep and showed him my non-losing Gearboros list.
Alrighty. N4 is dead. Long live N4. What
I'm
a
so
great
sad.
season. Oh, well, what a great edition of Infinity. For anyone who's played any previous edition, this was the edition. It was fucking excellent.
Yeah.
I will.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know about that.
I will say, coming into N4, I think like 2 years in, hearing people talk about N3 made me very, very glad I didn't find Infinity during N3 because like I would have bounced off this game so fucking hard if I had played in N3. I would have gotten like crit twice and been like, yeah, nah, I'm good, man. Fucking, I'm gonna go play some like more 40k. This is all good for me.
Yeah, look, there were a lot of. I mean, we'll go through it, but there was a lot of fun things that N3 had that didn't survive the transitions to N4. But what N4 essentially did was take away, as Jordan mentioned, a lot of the feels bad sort of thing that they were trying to fix through FAQs. I'll get into a couple of them when we get up to it.
Yeah.
And they made the game beginner or new player friendly.
Yeah.
Again, we'll get into how.
I'm trying to remember, was it N3 or N2 that they had to fix smoke shooting in? Because I know the dodging on flats thing wasn't around before N4, right?
They fixed it in
I think in
N3.
N3, yeah.
Yeah,
They
okay.
fixed it in N3. Yeah. You used to just be able to get, if you got shot through smoke, you were fucked.
Ooh.
Yep. All right. Let's get into the history of N4. Starting with the release. The 25th of September 2020. What a day it was. I remember it well. Were any of you, Josh and Jordan, were you guys around then?
No, I think, like I said when we were talking during the Spotlight episode, my introduction to Infinity really started in like 2022. Like,
yeah, so pretty late into N4. I know, Josh, you played your first tournament with me at BCB, which was kind of like the first tournament of N4, but I think N4 had already been out for 6 or so months by then.
It was in February of 2021. So
Yeah, okay, so like half
or
a
January.
year.
Yeah, so it'd been in place for a while. I started like with models in like maybe October or November the in 2020. So that's when I'd started like I picked up my JSA and stuff like that. So I'm definitely a purely an N4 baby. I've not read anything to do with N5, N3. Just hearing some of the old farts in the.
Well, yeah,
Thanks.
we'll get into some
Thanks.
fucking wacky shit.
So it's gonna be fun hearing about the changes. But I'm definitely an N4 baby, and I'm very excited to roll into to experience an edition change and roll into N5. I've experienced many edition change playing D&D, so let's hope that this one goes just as well as all of those did.
I think the good thing with the transition that we're going to have to N5 is that compared to N3, where there's like a lot of complaints about certain things, N4 is in a very good state. There are very few things that I could think that need massive changes.
Well, that depends on who you're talking to.
Oh, well, okay, look, there are some things, but like N3 had a lot of things that a lot of people universally wanted changed.
You know, the other thing that's really going to help the transition to N5, it's not happening in the middle of a global fucking pandemic either.
That's true.
Very true. Something that's not mentioned on this slide that I discovered after speaking to Kevin is that the release factions for N4 were Star Martyr and Cosmoflot.
Oh, really?
Yes. So they were kind of the N4 archetypes for new factions that came out. So you can kind of tell through their link teams and stuff like that Cosmoflot almost had a little bit of that N3 love left with like the Volkalak and the Rockots and that kind of thing. But I think Star Martyr was kind of the N4 sectorial because it kind of had, you know, let's throw Hector in a 5-man link team with fucking beta troopers and shit and, you know, cool stuff.
I mean, Cosmoflot almost has the N3 where they N3 fire teams where everything that you wanted to put into like a mixed fire team was still pure. You could still pull all that shit off. Whereas when you take a look at O12 and eventually Star Martyr, they didn't have like as good a mix as like Cosmoflot does.
Well, yeah,
Remember-
I mean, like...
Remember
Sorry,
that the fire team, the pure, non-pure,
Yes.
impure fire team change happened about halfway through N4. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I played my first BCB with a Super Samurai link with Daiokai hitting on 16.
Yeah.
So,
if I remember correctly, they at the outset they're like, we'll eventually come out with fire team changes.
Yeah.
Right, like at the beginning of N4, they said we're going to change them. It won't come out with N4.
I mean, yeah, like with what Tristan's saying about like the design principle of like an N3 fire team, even today there's what, like, I don't know, 2-3 sectorals that still sort of follow that with like Rama Task Force and the Zayden and Cosmoflot with the Volkalak.
Those are the ones where it's like deep in their lore, where it's a joint task force thing.
One final thing to mention about the specific release is that the N3 Army app was absolute trash, and the M4 one is way better. I'm glad neither of you people had to experience the N3 Army app, because it is hot garbage.
I'm actually really curious to see if they're gonna like build a new army app or if they're just gonna update the current one, because the current one works perfectly.
the way that I have what I have seen leaks wise is that they are updating the N4 Army app, and that'll transition to M5. However, they will be releasing all of the N4 profiles as a PDF.
Okay.
So, or you might even be able to access them on the app. But they did say that they will be releasing all of the N4 profiles as PDF, so you could still build N4 lists if you so wish with pen and paper, not on an app. If you want to make an app, more than welcome to. In fact, if you like, you can copy my Torchlight list builder.
Absolutely.
Which I absolutely ripped off somebody else. So, that's somewhere in the ether around when Torchlight came out. It's fairly simple. You just have to do a bit of data entry, but you can pay somebody on Fiverr to do that.
Yay, capitalism.
All right, let's move to the freaky changes. I say freaky because they were freaky for N3. But now,
These were the big ones that really, when I talk about making it like getting rid of the feels bad and all that sort of thing and making it more user friendly, these are probably honestly the big changes.
a lot of
I
them seem
will-
common sense now.
Yeah. I will say, just looking at this, right? I'll rant about crits for later on. The one that is the most insane to me that anyone would have ever complained about is the cover changes. Because, like, I've had to argue with people about, like, cover in different games. I could not imagine making a already complicated game like Infinity even more complicated with your opponent being like, no, you aren't covering 1/3 of your silhouette. You're covering, like, you're covering just under a third, so I'm getting the full bonus here. That
And-
was awful.
And Jordan, I was one of those people on this very podcast. If you go back to when we were transitioning to N4, that was like, I hate the idea of a tag hiding behind like a dustbin, and having played a full whatever of N4, whatever of N4. I am just so glad that I never have to argue about it ever again. If I just know that even if I'm like, really, you should be getting covered by that little speck that you're hiding behind, doesn't matter. He gets cover. It's over.
Tags shouldn't get cover.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's a hot take for the day.
That's
We
not
get-
a hot take. How is that a hot take at all? Tags should not. They're tanks. Tanks don't get cover.
How
Yeah,
about we
because
just
they're
how
not
about we
tanks.
just
That's the whole point.
Tanks
Exactly.
get
They
cover
are
all the
cover.
time.
I
They
mean,
are
with
cover.
N5,
Fuck that.
with N5 coming out, like the no cover and limited cover rules, we might see some tags that have no cover and limited cover for
Oh
discounts.
man, the avatar with no cover would be fucking great.
Just a frenzy tag.
I don't like the avatar doesn't need cover. That's like the one tag
That's
that
what I'm
doesn't need
saying.
cover.
Yeah.
I know it costs 110 points, but it doesn't get cover. Ah, that's great. I think
That's an 18-point discount for no
Yeah.
cover. That's perfect.
100%.
Absolutely.
We'd have
You
to
know
get
what
it
that
ner-
is?
we have to
That's-
all of us need to play the avatar again and get nerfed.
That's another Datarazi. That's fucking great. That's a Datarazi and a Gaki. Oh, so good.
I think one of the most underrated changes, and is why I put it first, is active turn dodging.
Yeah, that's...
You never used to. Whenever you dodged in the active, it was just to face a missile or something like that.
Huh.
But letting you dodge, so move without consequence in your active turn, opened up the CC potential massively. CC was basically not a thing in N3.
My 6-4 Damaru, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank CB for the transition to active turn dodging, because dodging on Fizz 14 to move 6-4 is
Yeah.
real good.
Yeah. I mean, like, even in N4, like, I'd argue that CC's fine, but it's definitely, like, a more difficult playstyle to try and pull off. Jesus, I couldn't imagine trying to be a CC army in N3. It's like, well, good luck. You're just going to be eating every single template in the game.
It was almost exclusively the realm of something with smoke.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you could almost say that literally back in there it was JSA just because they had so much CC and they had Yojimbo, and Steel Phalanx were about the only ones that could be called like close combat armies.
Jesus.
Because they were the only ones that could close the gaps reliably to combat into CC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking shotguns are wild as well. Like, I've had N3 shotguns explained to me by, like, Kev and Corey at fucking Border Bash, where it's like, no, so what you would do is you would try and see, like, the corner of their base, so when you shot them, you could, like, put the template at a 90-degree angle, so that you could, like, hit the guy behind the wall as well.
I'm pretty sure I remember it was just it still had to go in a straight line. You couldn't just curve it. It's not Warhammer.
You couldn't curve it, but the N4 rule now is you have to hit the closest point to their base. Whereas in N3, you could shoot any part of their base.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
could choose a point where you shot their base, and you could kind of do weird and wacky shit with the N3 templates. And
Hmm.
now, N5 templates are coming, and they're kind of going back. So,
Yeah, but it's circular, not direct. There's
Yeah. I mean,
who knows?
look, I was really happy with this change mainly because it made shotguns feel like shotguns. Like it just made more sense. With the change that we've seen in the current leaks, where they're going to like kind of like tiny grenade launchers. Whatever. Like I don't. I'm not tied to any one particular weapon. Like if I had to say the one thing that's going to be difficult with the change is probably like sniper rifle, and I don't want to see like the fallback change, but shotguns they can do whatever they want with them.
Sure. I think maybe they thought there's too much template defense or there's too much overlap between guns and too many things have shotguns.
Yeah,
I
making
think. Sorry, go on, Jordan.
making like shotguns and like chain rifles and chain colts distinct from each other, I think is a really good change because it gives purpose to those different profiles existing. And it's also like a little bit of a nerf to like your random little Rambo pieces that just have a light shotgun. Like the Libertos isn't going to be able to fork an ARO as awfully as it does now when you just walk up to something.
Yeah, and it's things like I don't know what like the costing rubric is, but like Hak Islam, all of them have rifle, light shotgun, so they've got like 3 decent forks of do you want the like do I go high burst, do I go the shotgun +6, or do I go a template? I don't know what that is compared to something that might have a combi rifle, let's say a nano pulsar or some small template like that, but yeah, it just means that like those profiles just don't get a template for free.
Finally.
Yeah, shotguns should be just like choosing. You should still have to roll to hit the blast mode of a shotgun, in my opinion. But
Yeah,
that is what the change looks like. You have a +6 still, and it's only burst 1 is what we saw too.
yeah, I think that's reasonable.
And like when you think about it, if we're talking about this as kind of a more grounded game, the cluster of a shotgun up close is still relatively small.
It's about the size of I think it's like a grapefruit or like a big apple or something.
It's probably the size of your fist at like 30 meters. Like it really doesn't spread that much at all unless you're using like specifically shit to spread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the like elephant in the room changes there with the old critical hits?
So this was huge.
It was pretty big. I had just bought my girlfriend the very first release of Sheshkin.
Oh no!
Yeah,
The
and I was
critting
like,
monster that she
hey
was.
baby, look, she crits on 18s and 1s, and she costs like no points, and it's damage 15, and ooh. And I'm very glad they removed that.
Critting literally 10% of the time on 5 dice is fucking ballistic.
It's very crazy.
You had to when she came out. You had to play her like at least once just to be like on the dealing end of 5 dice. Oh, she crit. Another 5. Oh, she crit. And she's just deleting things off the board.
Wasn't it? It's like her and Tariq, right? Were like the fatality models.
I don't know if Tariq had the critting
Tariq
fatality.
was the other one. He had fatality level 2. That's why you notice both of them have +2 damage on their weapons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For those who don't know, by the way, fatality level 2 in N3 let you crit on 1s as well as your regular dice. So oftentimes people found dice that really like to roll 1s.
Mm.
And it was very painful, and it automatically did a wound. There was no armor save. Just bang.
So,
yeah.
So the transition was you rolled the crit, instantly did a wound. Right, and obviously, yeah, it instantly did a wound. There's no saving throws or anything to it. They did the change to you get an extra armor save on like a critical hit. And when that happened, it was a little divisive, I think, because a lot of people said like the idea of my guy with a combi rifle's really not going to be able to punch through like a Yotam or anything.
But it's not supposed to.
Because yeah, exactly, it's not going to be able to crit. But it's also like, yeah, but it's a Yotam combi rifle. If it does manage to get through, all like requires also the Yotum to roll low. So, and that's sort of the way it should be.
The game state was everyone had more than 15 models, and everything was a bit more lethal. So it kind of balanced out in that sense. So these changes, that change specifically, kind of goes hand in hand with our next change, which is the lovely 15 model cap. Probably the most anger-inducing, divisive change of N4.
I was about to ask that because, like, when I was looking over the list of stuff, I'm like, there's like two things probably where like people probably had the biggest problem with it, and I assumed like one of them was like the number one was probably like the 15 model limit, and number two was going to be either like cover or the or crit changes.
Believe it or not, the one that's coming up was a huge change. The removal of falling.
Oh, sure.
This 15 model limit I found kind of weird when people got really upset with it because it was people running really niche like Ariadna lists that didn't like it. Most people were sitting around maybe 16, 17 orders if you were really pushing it. So it was more of a case of a vocal minority as far as this 15 model limit goes. I think this was good for the health of the game, same as the cover, because it allowed everybody to come to the table with at least some expectation of what their opponent was going to have, which is, somewhere in the realm of maximum 15. And then if they're going less, okay, maybe they've either got something hidden or they're bringing out something really big that's soaking up a lot of points.
Yeah, and then you'd have stuff like ALF, right, where you get the proxy, so you get to like break that mold a little bit.
Yeah, and so it was really like people that wanted to run Ariadna, and
they wanted to run Wallace and
and
35 Galwegians.
Yeah, and it was just they could just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. It was just I never played against any of those lists, but that was really the only ones where you were pushing to an insane degree above 15 orders to like a 30 order list, I think. I remember there was the famous 3 group list.
I remember Jacob one time played against Tim, other Jacob, and he ran 36 Morlocks into Tim's limited insertion pano. And instead of pulling out Infinity models, he pulled out Orc Boys.
Fair enough.
That was a fun game. It also took about 5
that's
hours.
Right, because he had to. I remember that because he had to write down all the meta chemistry rolls.
Yeah,
that's sociopathic.
But no, so what he did. This was before we met you, but basically what he did them in groups of 5, and he just went, "These 5 get this one."
Yeah. Well,
anyway, good thing it's staying in N5. And I think people are fine with it. Yeah, whatever. Reinforcements might modify it a little bit when they revise it, but yeah, I think 15 models is a good middle point.
Free play is an option. It's been an option since N4 began. It's in the ITS packet. You can, if you so wish, to play with your mates and play without the 15 order cap. It's on there. It's in the ITS packet. You can. Free play is an option. And it's even a tournament option. So,
I was honestly, and it's an ITS rule, so it doesn't really count. I was more sad about having not seen limited insertion for ages. Right, limited insertion, for anyone who didn't play, was everybody could only take 10 models, but you the lists that were limited insertion couldn't have 2 orders taken off of them.
Okay.
Yes, I was very sad when that changed.
Right, but it was a tournament rule, so it didn't really matter.
All right. Probably another big one that helped with just the general playability of the game was de-nested skills. For anyone who played in N3, figuring out what your model did was about 10 web pages on the Infinity Wiki. It was mental. So things like hidden deployment. Hidden deployment was just a level of camouflage that granted you every other level of camouflage, which granted you mimetism, which granted you stealth, which granted you surprise attack. It was all nested into one skill.
I think I can't remember hidden deployment. Fuck, I'm gonna have to look at it now. But yeah, the worst part. So like camouflage was, I suppose, okay because it was like mimetism camo, TO camo. It all had camo in its name. The worst ones were things like martial arts that had two separate skills nested into them: stealth and courage. Right. There were. I'm trying to think of any others that had sort of the nested skills. But martial arts was the biggest offender.
Remote presence had.
Remote presence is a big one.
had-
Yeah.
Remote presence.
Yeah,
had
it was
another
called.
one,
It was called like G remote or something like that, and it was.
Yeah, it was all ghost skills.
Ghost. Yeah, it was. Courage and whatever the remote presence skill was called and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that was ghost and remote presence, but yeah, anything with ghost had had courage in it. And the worst part, because like as someone who was playing Steel Phalanx and you'd play a new player and you're trying to play with them and they'd be like, oh, I want to do this, let's say hack or something like that. And you'd say, well, I got martial arts, so I have stealth. And they're like, oh, okay. Right. It's like, oh, it's really annoying. It's a nested skill. Then you go, okay, well, something happens. You go, okay, I'm going to go courage. They go, oh, you don't have that on your profile. Yeah, martial arts also has courage nested into its profile. Or someone would have like no wind in cap. And you'd be like, yeah, but that also means I get courage. Because you got every previous level. That was the other issue, is something you would get the previous levels of things, which meant that if you had NWI
you could
N4,
technically go dogged.
you could technically go dogged, but you also got courage, which is the big thing. And it was just confusing to introduce new players. Yeah, I could see your face, John. It was just confusing to introduce it to new players where you're like, you have to go. And I was lucky in my introduction. I grabbed the PDF, and when I was training into work, I just read the actual rules. So I knew it going into it. But a new player that comes and watch a demo, and you're like, okay, but by the way, this is that, and this is that, this is that. Drove me. I'm sitting there going, is this game that hard to learn? It is.
That's like, it's hard enough now to play it's a saying that like there has never been a totally on the level game of Infinity played. I feel like N3 would have had so much more unintentional cheating just because of shit like
Times 10,
that.
100%.
And then because I've heard some of these explanations before, right? And then someone else would be like, yeah, but there were like really cool things in N3 as well. Like, when you would use a flamethrower to burn off someone's mimetism. And I'm like, that sounds even fucking stupider than anything else you've just explained to me.
You didn't burn off the mimetism.
You could burn ODD
camo
off ODD to regular mimetism, and the only thing that really had ODD were like hidden deploy stealth troops with one wound.
That was the other thing. Okay, this was the other thing, is that there were separate things. So ODD, and TO camo, which in modern
N4
in N4 is mimetism -6 and like hidden deployment for TO camo.
Yeah,
that's the one thing. I think hidden deployment was hidden. It was nested in TO camo.
Yeah.
ODD was like, it was still a skill, but it was in lore a piece of equipment. So you could burn off ODD completely and they just have nothing, or you burn off. Anyway, you can see why it was great that they got rid of nested rules.
You could also hack it to turn it off.
Yeah, I've heard about that one.
Yep.
I don't know about that one. I've never had that one. I never had that one done to me, but I'll trust you on that.
All right, Jacob's favorite change, falling, made super jump a pile of garbage.
So, so super jump in N3. Super jump in N3 for the first half of the rules work exactly the way it does now, right? Jumping becomes a short skill. You can do a super jump, which is both your movement skills. What it also allowed you to do, so falling used to be a thing in N3 where you could technically drop.
You could drop your first movement value.
Yeah. What super jump allowed you to do was drop both your movement values. So if you were, let's just say, a 6'4", you could drop 10 inches.
Right.
Which means that you could place something on like a really high building, jump 10 inches let's say 6 inches forwards, and so long as you don't drop more than 10 inches onto the table, right, you take no damage. The reason this was important, the reason this worked, it was because it allowed you to jump up really high, take like a shot from a weird angle, and then you could drop that distance and you wouldn't take any damage. So it
Could
meant
you,
that
like, jump at a downward angle to like reduce the amount of falling you would then do?
the whole point is you didn't have to do that because you had 10 inches to drop.
Oh, sure.
What piece
You
of terrain do
technically
you know?
could.
Yeah, what piece of terrain do you know that's 10 inches tall?
Yeah, that's true, actually.
But the reason why it made super jump worse is because the Hollow Man's probably the best example. The Hollow Man used to be able to jump 6 inches up, drop 8 inches, which meant that they just were able to fire from weird angles. That was the main thing. When they got rid of that, it meant that you could, at best, you can jump 3 inches up because you have to obviously count the fall into your jump, which means that you can hardly move at all. It's now just really a get around the board skill than it was a fire from weird angles skill.
The Hollow Men were kind of fine. It was mostly like the 4-inch jumpers, like the Rodox and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Like it's
So
they
yeah,
kind of had to
and-
change super jump to jump from your silhouette later on to kind of make
Yeah.
4-inch super jump
Yeah.
worth it.
And
Yeah.
now because the way you're explaining that sounds like another one of those really bad feel bads for like a newer player. The fact that super jump now is just like, you know, the one of the 2 best movement skills in the game. I
Yeah.
like that a lot more personally.
Yeah, so and they FAQ'd this, I think, in N3 at some point, maybe in N4. What it allowed people to do really early N4 is the way line of sight worked is you drew line of sight from the front of your base. So if someone could see the back of your base, even if it was in front of you, they could shoot without a reaction. So use super jump to look at the back of people's silhouettes.
That was N3. If you could see the back half of someone's silhouette, you could shoot them, and obviously they're like, you're shooting the back silhouette, so I can't shoot back. Whereas now there's a specific example where it's like, if you're facing forward and you can see the back half, I can fire back.
Yeah.
So essentially, they changed it so that if you are in someone's front arc and they can see you, you can see them.
Yes.
Before it was you had to draw line of sight from the front half of your base to them. It meant that it was a big change because in N4 because it meant that S4s became way more viable, whereas before they were really difficult to use.
Yeah.
Like I said, the change from N3 to N4 was getting rid of a lot of feels bad mechanics in Infinity.
And this is another one of them. Combat jump dispersion. For anyone who doesn't know this little tidbit of fun, if you failed a combat jump roll, you grab your circular template and you'll notice it has some numbers on that bitch. You face the 1 towards the center of the table, you roll a d20, you roll a d20, and if you fail it in N3, you'd move 16 inches in the direction that you failed. So sometimes you could combat jump, and let's say you're in the center of the table, you could fly into your opponent's DZ, you could fly back into your DZ, or you'd fly off the table. It was
Flew off
golden.
the table, did you die?
No, you deployed like a failed infiltration now.
You deploy on the
Oh,
C of
sure.
your DZ. Actually, I think it might have been the back line of your DZ.
Oh,
It might have been something crazy
oh,
like that.
So punishing.
But
Yeah.
it was fun as shit.
Wait, so did that mean that people like only like tried to drop a drop troop like in the middle
Yes.
part of the table basically?
Well,
to
what
try
it
and
meant,
avoid
what it
flying
meant
off the
was
side?
net rods were deployed in the center of the table.
Oh my god!
They were.
Yeah,
It was
because-
great. I loved it.
That was because AI Beacon, which was the rule that allowed them to combat drop deploy, if they went off the table, they were the one unit that died.
I used to love it when Jacob's little net rods fell off the table because he's just risking them in his DZ. I'm like, yeah, I never win. I got a little chance now. Oh, that's fun.
I deployed my net rod. Oh no, it flew 16 inches. It's now in your DC.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, free order. Woo, let's go.
So
Still waiting on that Netrod repeater profile.
This was
Oh.
yeah. Well, this was one game. One game, I made a mistake once.
That's-
No. I'm just saying that I think that a turn 0 repeater for Aleph would be sick.
I would unironically play it in every. It's like, oh man, we're just gonna fucking drop it on like a second 6 into your
Uh-huh.
DZ. Let's go.
You say
I've got-
unironically, but it's
Yeah.
not really unironically.
I've got a
because
strategist. I've got a strategist lieutenant. I'm holding 3 units back in reserve. You've
Just put-
deployed everything. You've deployed all of your units. How could you? You've got 18. You've got 20 points left. How could? What could you possibly have? Pew, 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 pew. Three repeaters in your DZ here. Hacker, 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 hacker.
Are you feeling it
Um,
now, Mr. Krabs?
This change actually, I think, was trialed at N3 as an ITS rule. So for one season, they just got rid of dispersion completely.
no
Um,
idea.
Because the biggest thing with this rule is it meant that people don't take combat drop troops as much now, but they really didn't take them before. Parachutists were king. So they were like, okay, let's try giving them no dispersion, see how that goes.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, now in N4 they're trialing the combat jump rule, right, where you can deploy on like the
Border
edge of an
skirmishes,
exclusion.
yeah.
You can deploy on like the edge of like an exclusion zone or whatever for free.
Yep.
yeah.
I like that. I think it's a neat way to try and make troops with combat jump more relevant because like it's such a high risk play for like a lot of pretty middling pieces.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on what I want for N5. This is not N5 wish list episode.
And
Oh,
lastly
next week,
for this
baby.
page, next week. Lastly for this page, tags. Tags got a slew of buffs through N3, gaining +1 damage. They gained attack awareness, and finally, when N4 dropped, they pretty much all of them got cut by like 20 points.
Yeah,
were
I mean, like
super
the
expensive.
points change is like obviously the biggest, but also like surely the crit change was the second biggest,
Crit
right?
change was massive. So people didn't used to take tags because you just go, oh, I crit fish against your tag. And you go, well, my tag's dead. Armor basically didn't have much value because you could make plenty of link teams. You had plenty of high burst and, people crit as often as they
Yeah.
do now.
Yeah, like just looking at it, like the crit changes would be the biggest, but the Zeta used to cost as much as the Cutter does now.
Well,
Yes.
so
So
tally level 2, they crit twice as much as everybody else does. Everyone is down. So
yeah, like the Zeta used to cost as much as the Cutter. That is fucking insane.
So pretty much the only tag that saw play was the Avatar. And it was something like 147 points or something ridiculous.
34, I think it was.
No, that was the start of N4.
In fact, now I think about it, I have my handy dandy.
Well, go have a look.
We'll
It was
look it up.
ridiculously expensive, and everything in
Yeah.
general was more expensive. So
Oh.
a Liberto was like 12 points.
Yeah,
And I saw the Liberto go to 8 points. I was like, why? It's
Christ.
so good.
So like
that frenzy discount. Ooh.
yeah, so like that's the holdover then for people who still think like tags aren't good in N4, right? Is like it's N3 players who are like, oh no, tags have never been good.
Potentially.
They're just in a game where
Oh god,
you
Tristan,
don't
no.
want
No. This is awful.
This is my favorite
Why are you
page,
looking at
guys. I
this?
spent so long making this page. It makes me very happy looking at this page.
all of the possible hacking programs from.
So,
100
N3
By the way,
hacking.
Avatar 137 points
Oh,
back in the day.
expensive boy.
And now I think about it, did I just see 2.5 SWC?
He was 3.5 Swift, I want to say.
Let's just see. He was 3.5 Swick.
3.5 Swift, boys. Guys, 25. I think I counted them all. I think there was 28 hacking programs in total in N3.
Oh my
And if you
God.
take a look at some of these programs,
They're great.
I want to draw your attention to the bottom one on the killer hacking device for people who are watching.
Yes.
Program
Maestro?
called Maestro. Now, this program is +3 to you, -3 to your opponent, damage 14, burst 2 with breaker ammo, puts your hacker unconscious, the enemy hacker unconscious.
Straight to
You got,
unconscious.
you're an Azura with 3 wounds, with 2 wounds, boom, straight to NWY.
Oh, it doesn't take a word. It just goes unconscious.
You
It
just
just
unconscious.
goes to unconscious. Can never kill
The rules
anything.
specifically say you lose every single point, every single wound that you have, and you go to unconscious.
hacking area, state unconscious. That's probably my second favorite, like, ammo explanation in the game. Nothing is ever going to be better than fucking
State
monofilament. Yeah,
unconscious.
armor equals 0, state equal dead.
So N4 brought about the realms of 10 hacking programs, and by golly gee whiz, was it an improvement?
This is insane. Like,
And this is a good point to mention. One
I
of
really
the
like
biggest.
Space
Go
Wizard
on.
having its spell list.
Yeah. This brings out probably one of the best changes that CB made to like how they write like their lists and profiles is their ability to just go like upgrade brackets, something extra damage or whatever, meant that if
yeah,
they wanted something to have a nuts program, they could base it on a basic program and just make it better.
yeah,
So instead of like if they really really wanted, they could go upgrade Trinity brackets like state unconscious,
yes,
and there
they
you go.
definitely could.
Suddenly you've got Maestro back into the game.
Yeah,
Um,
you could literally do like dumb shit where it's like, oh, Trinity upgrade armor equals 0 or some
yeah,
shit.
I mean,
Like,
the Azura hacker used to have a program called Red Rum, which the main thing is that it was damage 16. They still kind of have that. They just have a burst 3 damage. I'm pretty sure 15 or 16.
damage 16 Trinity is what the
Yeah,
Asura has.
Trinity. There you go. They've got Red Rum.
Don't
Yeah.
forget that Red One was double trouble, which was the old wording for double action.
Yeah, double
Oh,
action for
sure.
BTS. Yeah.
It's really, I think I've said this before to like people in person, but I want it on the fucking record here. It's so cool. The part I like is going through and seeing like the grubby fingerprints of like N3 hacking still all over parts of N4, especially in combined, when you go into profiles and they just have the weirdest fucking hacking devices. And it's like, oh yeah, that's because like in N3 it did this instead. Where it's like the Bitten Kiss profile where she doesn't have a hacking device. She just has Trinity and Oblivion.
Yeah.
There's definitely some holdovers, and I will
That's
say
wild.
95% of these hacking programs were absolutely useless.
Yeah. What's one that I've never saw? I don't think I ever saw Breakwater.
You basically never see any of Claw 1. Basically,
most
don't
of
see.
Shield you won't see.
You basically, so between Basilisk and Carbonite, you pretty much always went Carbonite for the +3 and double trouble. You basically never saw Brain Blast unless you were a regular hacker getting attacked.
Yeah.
Like, and all of the shield programs, there were not very many hackers in the game that got the defensive hacking device, and you wouldn't take it anyway because it's meh, like it's useless.
Yeah. So
U-turn's the one that people want back in the game now, right?
I was
Yeah.
just about to say U-turn might be a decent one to bring back. There's a couple that I don't know. What it doesn't really matter.
And
But,
the reason, another reason why drop troops weren't
Pain is
taken.
quite- yeah. Zero Pain is quite good on the profiles that have it currently, like Pandora.
yeah.
And Zoe, yeah.
Yeah, Zoe and
Yeah.
Bible.
The other thing that they did is there used to be, I think, 10 unique hacking devices. They reduced that down to I
4?
think there's 4 or 5 now.
Yeah.
So there used to be assault hacking devices used to be a hacking device, and that was the one that could like Oblivion things like really well,
They
as well
got
as the control
Claw
and
2 and
tags.
3. You can
So they
actually,
could-
you can see it in the thing.
yeah. So, well, I'm doing it for the podcast listeners.
Yeah, sorry.
So they used to they were the ones that could do essentially like super Oblivion, which used to exist. And they could also, I think they were the only ones with no, they had a better version of total control.
Okay. For any of like the people listening to the podcast, you need to watch the YouTube for this one just to look at this fucking absolute fucking clusterfuck of a like pile of
Yeah.
hacking programs.
But the biggest thing, and you know, John, you mentioned before, like why the combined army hacking devices are kind of like weird with all the upgrades and everything all over them. Is there used to exist something called the EI hacking device, and they just put that name on it. All that meant was that every single EI hacking device had Maestro.
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay, cool.
Right. That's that's what they had. The other problem we had in N3 is there were some some programs that were just like flat upgrades. You couldn't have them unless you just had were given
Oh
to it
yeah,
as an upgrade. So I
you can
think
see you can see the ones under upgrade where it's like stop is like for Zoe and the EI, sucker punch is for EI. Okay.
Yeah.
actually, believe it or not, there's more programs. You don't have them all, Tristan.
I don't. It was very difficult just to find these, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So
So Jacob's right. Every regular EI hacking device got Sucker Punch, which
every
was
EI hacker device.
every EI hacking device basically got an upgraded version of like a basic attack program.
Yeah, I think they all just got Maestro. I think they just flat out all had Maestro.
And Sucker Punch, because I'm reading it here as well, which is a
Okay.
hacking device plus program that every combined army hacker got. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Um,
N4 hacking, mwah, mwah.
10 out of 10.
It's good.
yeah.
It's good.
It's space
no.
magic.
I would like a EI hacking device having a new program called Overlord, where it's just state equals septorized. That would be fun.
Fuck off, Josh. No.
State equals write into CB and tell us what you hacked, and therefore that unit will now be available in CA forever. Thank you.
The next big clusterfuck, as Jordan would say, of tables and profiles and shit is the plethora of martial arts tables. So,
Why are there so many?
because
Why
we need
am I
variety,
looking at like 5 tables?
right?
I mean, look, Jordan, you'll be happy to know that almost none of them mattered other than the N3 martial arts table.
maybe. So in N3, we didn't have a consecutively better martial arts table. It was pick the best for the situation. So
Which meant that was literally 3 levels that you took. You took level 3 if you had it, level 1 if you didn't, and level 4 if you were like a monster fighting someone that wasn't a monster.
level 5, unironically, was hot garbage.
And confusing as shit.
And very confusing. So in Martial Arts 5 used to give you burst equal to the amount of people in close combat with you.
No, it's even more complicated that you got 1 attack against everyone in base to base with you.
It's stupid.
That's what chess minds do.
And there was there was only like 2 or 3 things in the game that got it.
Hit everybody in close combat.
There you go. Chess minds are better than martial arts level 5 in N3.
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different. Sorry, I'm going to the next slide.
Yeah, we'll hop over to the next
different
slides.
fucking charts.
So, aside from martial arts, we also had Prothean, we had Icol, we had Natural Born Warrior, which was its own table, and we had Guard, which was its own table as well. Which is great, and they all had their own unique little thing.
Now you could stack these if you have multiple of them, but you tended not to have multiple of them.
I don't think you were allowed to stack them.
I literally went and read this because you put it in the notes. I was like, God, could you not stack them? I wonder. But I remember you could, because technically Berserk has its own table as well.
Oh my god.
Berserk is much like the second form of Natural Born Warrior, and it was called Assault back then.
No, Berserk was.
Berserk was a completely different thing.
Berserk was you could either choose to assault, or you could do the you could do the assault movement thing, or you could get a bonus +3.
That's Natural Born Warrior.
No, Natural Born Warrior, you could also get a +3.
No. But Natural Born Warrior, if you look at the number B, I believe that is the Berserk equivalent.
It is.
Or is
B for Berserk.
No. A is Berserk. It's assault. You choose assault over if you just read
it lets you declare assault.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
The Icol one is wild.
The Icol one's just fucking weird.
Yeah.
Icol can be used even when declaring dodge or engage. That's dope as shit.
Icol in the lore is fancy perfume that makes you super attractive.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it was on the fucking Chimera.
Well, it was also on the Odalisks.
Yes.
Odalisks and Panther Slayer. God, I had Icol.
Basically,
Ah.
pretty ladies got it. So
Yeah.
Basically,
Look, I can't.
the pretty
I know
lady.
that like Berserk had its own weird table because Natural Born Warrior, because Berserk still let you hit someone without as a normal roll, which Natural Born
Yeah.
Warrior doesn't do.
So if Protheon had its own table, did it not just like give you a wound back?
It still did that. It still did that, but you had
it
to
still
use that
does.
table.
Yes, you had. If you had martial arts and Prothean, which I think Sheshkin did, you had to choose one of them. I'm pretty sure you couldn't choose. You couldn't apply
Oh,
both.
so you just choose 4 every time, right? Just 4.
That was the other main thing is that Protheon you couldn't in the N3 you couldn't use your CC. You couldn't use like if you had like a D charge, you couldn't use that to get your wounds. You had to use because everybody had a CC weapon. You had to just use that. So essentially, the idea was you were biting somebody.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think there were less models in the game with Prothean than there are levels of Prothean.
I think it was like the
Arr.
Samaritan. I think it was the Samaritans.
Caliban, Sheshkin,
And
maybe Speculos, but I don't remember.
yeah, I
There
think
wasn't many.
Yeah, I think it was just like 2 or 3. Yeah, it was real low.
It wasn't a lot. All right. Things that were removed that make me very, very sad.
You know what's one we actually forgot to put on here?
Hit me.
Jammers becoming disposable instead of forever use.
Very true. Very true.
Because I know that's one that people have fucking been whinging about since it happened and haven't stopped.
Yeah, because the Huckers LAN players want their 5-point dude that you can pop on a roof and just jammer things for the all of eternity.
Isn't it like for Runa players as well? Because like the Zulu Cobra profile that has the jammer used to be like the tits.
Still is.
The tits.
Still is very good, yeah.
Still a BS13 camo. So good.
But the KHD is so good.
One thing we also didn't mention is the changes to Impetuous. So Impetuous used to have 2 levels. Normal Impetuous and extremely impetuous.
Okay.
So one of them you had to use Extreme Impetuous, you had to use the Impetuous order, you had no choice. So if you had to run out in front of a missile, tough titties. Right? Other one you could cancel.
Regular Impetuous is regular Impetuous. They basically just removed Extremely Impetuous.
Oh,
but all those hyper cheap things like the Shaolin monks all had Extremely Impetuous.
Could you still suppress it inside of a fire team like you can now?
You couldn't put them in a fire team.
No, nothing extremely impetuous could go into a fire team.
Frenzy was squashed in like fire teams and stuff. So like, yeah, you didn't change states. You did lose impetuous and fire teams, but most of the extremely impetuous ones couldn't fire team.
It also had a really angry token version of impetuous.
That's great.
Yeah, extra red.
The fucking what was the fucking post-humans couldn't go into netrods anymore, right? That was one that a bunch of people whinged about.
Netrods used to absorb proxy orders.
Yeah, so for anyone who, I mean, proxies still work the way that they work now, right? Like, you have to get rid of all the proxy bodies to get rid of the order. But it used to be also, if you had a netron on the table, as part of the AI beacon rule, is that order went into that model.
Okay.
It was great. Also,
so it meant that you had to potentially kill 6 models, so 6 bodies, to get rid of the proxy's order.
And the proxies were just a whole bunch better, right? Like the Mark II was hidden deployment.
The Mark II was fucking nuts.
The Mark V, didn't the Mark V have a camo state as well?
No, it's just cheaper.
The Mark V was cheaper. It was as cheap as a Fusilier.
10 points. It was 10 points.
Fucking hell.
And I think the Mark III had... I think the Mark III was the one with the camo state. The Spitfire one had something extra. I can't remember.
The Spitfire one was always useless.
Oh, well,
back then.
That hasn't changed.
It's just 2. It's just 2 that had the hidden deployment and infiltration, and was fucking great.
Well, something I really miss, because I used to use it all the time, stun ammo. That shit was fire. And stun grenades. Riot Girls used to have stun grenades.
So what did stun ammo actually do? It just was
same
it just
as
like
flash.
Yeah, it's exactly the same as flash ammo.
Okay, sure.
I think it had back then. It had like a worse roll, like it was if you get hit by it, it was worse than getting hit by a flash, but it was the same result
Okay.
because flashes
Sniffers-
stunned you, and then flash grenades also stunned
Sniffers
you.
is another one that I hear about all the fucking time too. People
Yeah,
are like,
so
"Well, why can't I do this anymore?"
Sniffers was you could put down Sniffers, and then when you activated a sensor, you did sensor through each of the Sniffers at once.
Wait, hold on. You censored through your entire hacking network.
No, just the sniffers.
No, just the Sniffers, just the
Okay,
Sniffers.
just the sniffers. Okay. Thank
Sniffers
God.
were
yeah.
sniffers were repeaters for sensor.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Okay,
So,
cool.
the idea would be that, like, if you could do it, you'd run up, put 2 Sniffers down, then you'd then have your one FO bot go, I'm going to sensor now in my back line, and the Sniffers would also go off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was a piece.
then- Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, so this was something I found when I was just looking through the old equipment, the old skills, and like saw how they change. Is a piece of equipment called the Nullifier. Now, it was almost Toha exclusive. I think there was a couple of CA models that had it, and it's a deployable where if you are within the zone of control of that deployable, you cannot declare a hacking program.
Okay.
I never saw them used.
Oh, because they were Toha exclusive, and hardly anyone ever played Toha.
Well, there you go.
Like
That's
that.
probably why I didn't see them.
But I
Don't
think
say
it's a really
you miss them. Come on.
No. I just think they're a really cool piece of equipment, and I wish they were still in the game. Right, and not just a Toha exclusive.
Well,
The problem is that really the only I took a look. The only profile that it was really of any consequence on was the it was on the Nexus operator for CA, so they could drop it near the Unidrons and stop you from hacking those Unidrons.
I mean, there are a couple of things in the game that would be really bad for everyone if they were not Toha exclusive.
there's also a couple things in the game where if they were unhackable, it would probably be not so good.
Mm,
Well, you still have to stay within an 8-inch circle, but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can chuck your avatar on a roof, make it not hackable, and go, haha, come at me, boy.
So the command
True.
token to activate an Evo program, that was a thing in N3. I thought that was a thing that people thought up in N4 that they wanted to do with their command tokens. That was a thing you could do in N3.
Yeah.
This
that's a
this
cool
is
one.
also a good time to mention that marksmanship had 2 levels. The Evo program gave you level 2, and level 1 gave you shock. So aside from ignoring cover as well, you also had shock ammo on your TR bots and Dakinis and stuff.
Which is why Zaydens are BS attack shock now.
And so much less shock immune in the game in N3. Like half
really?
the still
Shit just
phalanx
died?
phalanx characters were not shock immune. Remotes never used to drop prone. They were never allowed to go prone. So Dakini Link teams, if you knocked them out, you could keep shooting them until they're off the table.
Oh, they're like tags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, in 2 minds about that one.
Yeah, I didn't
that
like
particular change, right? Like, the robot staying up and was it's whatever. I could take it or leave it, but this particular change was a bit sad to see go, because it was a really good. Like, if you're going second and you really needed to defend an objective, like looting and sabotage and all that sort of thing, ignoring like a Dakini fire team, this was a really good thing to be able to activate on whatever robot you may have had. It's a bit sad to see it have gone. It's one of those other things that it's not like if it came back it would be a feels bad thing. It was still a hard decision about taking away the 2 orders or keeping the Evo, using the Evo program. I don't see any reason for them to really have gotten rid of this. I feel like
I could definitely see this one coming back.
yeah.
They did say that for N5 they do want to increase the number of choices for command tokens. So
I honestly think it was a response to like the way OSS was getting played, where you could hype up a Dakini to be he'd be 13, 16. He'd be on 19s with a HMG or sniper rifle.
Yeah, on turn 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
because you had because
Reactive.
people played like the Apsara back then, didn't they? With the,
Yeah.
with the fucking
People
Rem
still
driver.
do.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
But the Apsara was better because they could rev driver between bikinis.
Oh.
yeah, you didn't have to
Yes.
pick one bikini. You could just be like, you could move it so like between which ones you were activating.
But if you peaked the Dakini and the Apsara together, she couldn't
You could
ARO
shoot the
herself.
Apsara. Yeah.
Man,
All right,
fucking
let's
looking at,
let's
I'm
move
so
on.
much more appreciative of N4 now after seeing all this.
N4 is
Yeah.
great, guys.
It
Play
is.
N4.
It is a really good thing. The only thing you know what? I'll do final thoughts and I'll mention this.
The first season of N4, ITS 12 breakdown, not super revolutionary, to be honest, aside from the fact of a pretty sweet Parvati model and offensive and defensive bonus points,
Ooh.
which
Yes,
is honestly massive. Like
it was huge.
didn't play a tournament when we didn't have them, but I could imagine it was like brackets of 5, brackets of 10, brackets of 15, brackets of 20. Like there wasn't much middle ground.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was the case of like if you were losing, you just fucking got nothing. If you were drawing though, you still fucking got nothing, and then if you're winning, you got tons. And so I think this was like a conversation going on in the community because I remember Kev really being into it, and I think it's the same as like rugby scoring, like the rugby league scoring, where if you like if you're like close enough or you win by a certain amount, you get extra points. And yeah, every time we'd be at a tournament, Kev would be like, "Oh, they should really do the rugby tournament scoring," and then they brought this in, and yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the tournament scene has been better for it.
Absolutely.
Well, just adding more granularity to like standings is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like being able to submarine because you got like a really close scoring loss in round 1 and then got like 4 big wins in the next like 4 rounds is huge.
Like being able to score 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 tournament points a game is a lot better than being able to score 0, 2, or 5.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty. May of 2021, we have the legendary military orders release.
Oh.
I would say maybe the second most popular box, sectorial box, aside from JSA.
I mean, they just look so good.
They look excellent. Controversial things for MO players, though. They took some units and split them in half, and then they took other units and merged them together.
And the big thing they got rid of, if I remember correctly, is they got rid of. Did they get rid of the Crusade squads? Like you had to pick. You had to pick your order at the beginning of the game, and that was the guys that could form the Crusade squad.
Oh, I don't know about that.
This was
That sounds like some 40k shit to me.
So that was the issue. Back to the books.
Funny story.
It
actually,
sounds something similar. Yeah, go on.
this was the first piece of Infinity content that I actually engaged with. Was I listened to the Mayacast episode of them reviewing the military orders action pack and the new profiles.
These were some pretty banging models when they came out. And back then, metal was cheap as chips. These were like the box came out at like a retail of like $85 or something silly.
That's insane.
Yeah. I remember I bought my avatar, which has now been sold to Josh, for $45. And I think now they retail for like 90.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, they think they're at 90, yeah. It's nuts.
Unfortunately, since they came out as like one of the first updated sectorials, they've kind of lost pace by the end of N4. Kind of outpaced by modern releases that seem to have a bunch more stacked skills and like a lot of profiles with mimetism and MSV1, which they seem to lack. But they look cool.
They look really cool. Good proxies. Pieces from them very good in vanilla. Like I really like the Seppi Knight in vanilla.
The Knight Commander was actually really interesting when it came out because it was one of the only Lieutenant level 2s that hit itself as a different model. So people liked that. The Crozier MSV2 Spitfire, people were like, what the fuck? When it
Teutonic
came out.
Knights, like the new Teutonic Knights, is some of like the best heavy infantry in the game. Like they're so good.
Yeah, that was super
if they
good.
were AVA like 5, I think every MO player would be
take
very,
5.
very happy. Yeah, would take 5.
Yep.
Like,
yeah,
they're so good.
You wanna be reminded of what the stupid N3 rule for knights were?
Sure.
So it was compulsory to choose one. It is compulsory to choose one main military order from Knights Hospita, Santiago, Montesa, Holy Sepulchre, or Teutons at the beginning of the game. That then determines who you can put in your Knights order core link.
Thank fucking God the N4 fire team's chart got
that is
released.
stupid as fuck. That's
So
another thing.
if you wanted a core of Hospitals, you could only take Hospitals and then 2 like single models from outside that order.
I'm glad we're past that.
That's insane.
All right.
So I remember their fire team, like building the fire team in military orders in N3 was fucking confusing as shit.
Especially in comparison to like building fire teams in general without the fire team list was very confusing. It was just a skill on the profile. All right, guys.
I heard about that. Where,
you have like a block of text.
Yeah,
yeah,
and you'd
like
be like, oh shit.
It was Animatakos or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had Fire Team Core, Fire Team Haris, Fire Team Duo, like as a skill.
Oh, that's right, they did too.
And then it had Wildcard as a skill, so they could join a fire team.
No, I think Wildcard was like it was described in the banner of their profile.
It was, yeah. And that's why I think it's still
love watching
around.
Jordan go, what? Every time we say something.
Well, it's like because the fire team thing stuck around into N4. Like,
yeah,
the fact that a fire team like chart of like what can be in a fire team wasn't released until like a chunk into N4 is fucking buck wild to me.
They had a fire team chart. It just wasn't very helpful.
They relied on like a bunch of fan made stuff. Like I think it's still around, but Callum from Melbourne wrote a website that was I can't remember what it was called.
The Spud one?
No, it was like Fire Team Maker or something.
Oh right, yeah. So I thought you were thinking about Captain Spud.
Not Captain Spud, no. And like it was used all over, and it was just like making fire. What models could be in what fire teams? It was insane because we didn't have a chart.
So that's what we had to use back in the day. That's just a big ass chart of fire team rules.
Oh my god!
It was grim times. But in comparison to like other war games where you had to get a piece of paper and write down unit cost and stuff, we were doing pretty good. Just play vanilla. That was basically it. All right. August 2021. The first Code 1 pack, I think. No, the second Code 1 pack, but the first of N4. Crimson Stone. Cosmoflot finally gets models, and Corregidor becomes Wildcard Heaven. And continue to be Wildcard Heaven.
Right.
I mean, not much to really say. You know, we got pretty much two, almost kind of like we got one, kind of two like all stars factions. Where Cosmoflot more so.
Potentially the best Diaphos box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like
What's
Cosmoflot.
the Diaphos box?
Diaphos Xanadu Rush.
Oh, that's right. That was what Caden and
somebody, I don't know. It was
and the scientist.
No,
it was Caden and this Corregidor woman.
Jazz Billy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jazz and Billy.
Yeah,
like Jazz and Billy.
Wasn't it Jazz and Billy?
I have it. No, I have it. I can't remember what it is, but it had I believe it had a pilot as the HVT.
I thought it was a scientist.
Or maybe
was it that scientist lady? I don't know. Who cares?
Think of the wrong one. But yes, Xanadu Rush.
Go look it up. I think you can still buy it for like $20.
Yeah, like,
right.
like Cosmoflot today is still like one of the best sectorals in the game. Like they fucking nailed that one on the first pass. They're so good.
When this
Yeah,
came
it
out,
was.
Corregidor.
It was Jazz. It was Jazz,
Okay.
and it was a scientist.
Yeah, Corregidor was banging when this came out because this was before the fire team changes. There was no purity, and they had wild cards galore. So things like the Evader AP Spitfire Engineer was like one of the first stacked profiles.
Yeah. Or just its fucking foyer back. Right, this was I think the release where I got introduced, and it's not as bad now. It was a 5-man with a cyclone on it next to a baggage bot, and you just spend your first turn spreading repeaters across the entire board.
Great fun.
Yay.
Here we go. You remember this very vividly, Jacob. September 2021, the first Siocast model, the Vostok.
Didn't you melt a Vostok, Jacob? I did.
It wasn't me. It was Nick.
Okay.
Two Hill and Kev, they sort of went around and did a stress test on it. But I'm going to repeat it right now. You can still look this up if you look up how to strip paint off Siocast. Probably one of the best pieces of information we ever got is if you are trying to get paint off Infinity models in general, not sure about the new material they're using, acetone.
Yeah, acetone's the nut.
Acetone just takes this paint straight off, does not hurt the plastic. I've done it myself on my Stigmata.
Really? Used acetone on the Stigmata?
Yep.
Yeah.
Kev, we put this Vostok through its paces. So, being in Australia, we put bits of it in the oven to see how much it melted. It's not too bad. It's not like GW plastic where it's fucked pretty quickly. We bent bits of it until it broke. I mean, other people I'm sure have bent them. They're okay. It's a bit brittle. And of course, as everyone's experienced, they're kind of fucking annoying to clean mold lines off. The new material that they're bringing out, the plastic resin, is miles and miles better. And then eventually we raffled it off, painted by Julian as this like big battle damage thing because it was all fucked up.
That's pretty cool.
That's great.
But yeah, the best bit of information we ever got when we got this thing early was if you want to strip Siocast, acetone does not hurt it.
Alrighty. Also in September.
And
Fiddler. A day after BCB, the first BCB or the second BCB of 2021, we had ITS 13, which had all the motorbike changes, which was fun as everything. I remember people getting real mad about this.
Some of the best seasonal rules.
Probably the best seasonal rule.
Like the fact that it carried over, it was so good that it carried over into the game proper.
Corvus Belli have done a really good job of putting out rules to be tested in ITS. People play them, they listen, and they take what works. So, like I said, shit like getting rid of dispersion for jump troops was like an N3 thing that they just kept in the seasons until they went to N4. And this bike change, whenever I played it, I was like, I like it. I'm tired. I like bikes. I wish they could be used more, and now they can be.
Well, yeah, like the 9-point motorized bounty hunter is like just a fucking phenomenal profile with that Min 3. Like, it's so cheap. You got the submachine gun, chain coil +1 burst. Sometimes it rolls a HMG, like...
Yojimbo and Aragotos became so relevant in ITS 13. Yojimbo was so good.
But the good thing is they're still just as relevant as they were back then.
Well, Yojimbo 3 points more expensive.
So I was more talking about the Aragotos.
Well, the Aragotos got cheaper because they already had Mimetism, I think.
Yeah. There were basically no motorbikes being used before these changes.
And yeah, like Tristan's got written up there, the Knight of Montesa is fucking phenomenal.
The Knight of Montesa became a god.
And the Knight of Montesa, there's a lot of like the sectorials that can take the Knight of Montesa kind of semi-rely on it being as beastly as it is because they need that. They may not have the ability to project a specialist that quickly up the board.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you mean
Mm.
you mean the sectorals that get the paramedic profile?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know it
Yeah.
was a sectoral only profile.
Yeah.
It
It is.
gained mimetism and gained cover in the same sitting.
Yeah.
That's like a to hit by 6 swing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very fucking good. And he's also one of the only ones that keeps mimetism off the bike. So,
He does.
yeehaw, gamers.
I think it's Nidal Teslas and Aragotos are the only ones that do.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Oh,
Arguably, probably the biggest mid N4 change. The April 2022 Fire Team update.
That's so long ago. What?
It was
Oh.
ages ago.
look at that. Look at that beautiful, beautiful set of 2 tables. Oh,
What were people's impressions of this when it came out?
I think I thought people were going to lose their fucking nut over them, and I think people were okay with it pretty quickly because there were just so many super overpowered fire teams that to bring them back down to earth was good.
Yeah, most people are sick of seeing Shag Jesus followed around by Forzad She or
yeah.
Jeskin or
Yeah.
BS18s
Well,
followed
yeah.
around by Nox.
What
Like,
was it? It was Shang-Chi, Sheskin, like the Kamau team, Grenzes as well, right? I can't remember if Grenz
One of my favorite ones when I could do it was a Hollow Man, whatever the Myrmidon's name is, a Stemplar, a Kariza Borat, and a Grenza. And that's just every range band covered with none of them below BS16.
Yeah.
You know, you still had the Grenza at the this is a bit N3, but still had the full auto or the extra burst, so he was just fucking annihilating things. Yeah, I think people were really scared. I think people were more scared that they would lose the fire teams that they had. Like you wouldn't be able to make certain fire teams anymore. But all they did was they lost that purity. So like I was playing, I think OSS at the time, and the only thing that really changed for OSS is you couldn't embed an engineer into the fire team, so it was a little bit harder to keep them repaired.
Yeah.
It
that was about it.
wildly change the power dynamic of certain factions. So
It
still,
did,
still
yeah.
Phalanx became a lot better because everyone got +1 BS. The
Yep.
Shat went in the absolute dumps because they had nothing pure. The Shat was built off having 4 wildcard bounty hunters, and now they went pure. So
Corregidor as well, straight into the fucking trash bin.
Corregidor was hurt hard.
Well, Corregidor just had to like change. They became a different faction. I think actually a lot of nomads probably got a little bit hurt by
the
this
HI
change.
JSA lists changed.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Yeah, the Tanko. That was probably a big one. The Tanko getting reduced. So yeah, there was some factions that were hurt by this. Some that got the an advantage to it. Like I said,
I really liked. So, for reference, I hadn't started playing Infinity yet, but I was sort of hanging around people who were at Throw the Dice, so I heard about this through the periphery of it. But then coming into Infinity with this change, it seemed like it made people reevaluate how they sort of looked at fire teams. Like, it wasn't just, a gun and 4 dickheads. People were now doing stuff like 4 cores full of a bunch of like different little bits and pieces that all did something, and even like impure 5 cores where they were still trying to sort of do N3 like the old fire team stuff, but you just had more stuff in the core because you just didn't care about purity.
I think
Yeah. I was just going to say it. I think it opened up list building so much because it meant that I was more likely to take 2 Harises.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It really opened up the Harris game.
Yeah, and it also meant that it brought the idea for the most part, other than a couple of sectorials, which I think Morats before they actually got their re-update were actually absolutely fucked by this change because they didn't have the inter team done properly yet.
Well, no, because this launched pretty much alongside the Morats update.
It did.
It was pretty much like
Oh, did it?
I believe
yeah.
I believe the next
Same
slide
time,
is the Morat update.
yeah. It was literally at the same time.
It was at the same time. It was
But
specifically brought in because of the Morats.
Yeah, pretty much this meant that if for a lot of factions you had the choice of you got punished by the points cost of a pure team, or you went with impure one to keep sort of costs down, and it just meant that a vanilla could fight into like. I'm just going to use the Dakini again. You're looking at a Dakini in a fire team outside a fire team, and it's only 5% difference, right? Obviously, the burst and all that changes it. So it's not so bad for a really good gunfighter in vanilla. Whereas before, like, what's even some great gunfighter to do against a BS 14 Dakini?
Well, but BS14 Dakini is still the case because you don't take Dakinis outside of Dakini leagues, really. Like, you'll have a pure Dakini league unless you're Ivory and you take CSUs.
But like, what I'm saying is, like, if you wanted that engineer, like what I took, I have to pay for an extra Dakini and a different engineer.
We just take the Proxy Mark 1
Proxy
engineer instead of like the hacker.
You're missing the point.
You didn't
you
pick
need
a
an
good
example that
example
isn't
with
pure.
OSS.
Yeah. OSS is probably the not the.
I think the Shang-Chi example is pretty good. The
Well,
Shang-Chi
is probably the
just
preeminent
the
one.
Riot Girl with moderators.
Yep.
Yeah,
the
right.
Girl.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right, now it's at 14 instead of 16.
And people still take it quite regularly.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's still worth taking, right? It just means that if you're playing against vanilla, like if you're playing 012 and you bring like a Prime, which is the best gunfighter I can think of right now in this moment, if I was BS16, it'd give you pause for thought. But now it's like, whatever, I'll take that fight.
Yeah. So something I will say as well, because this is something I've been thinking about for a while. These changes, I think, brought into perspective that the strongest part about being in a Link team is Sixth Sense. That skill is fucked.
It's very good.
And it always was. That's the one thing. Sixth Sense has probably never gotten necessarily any worse.
Didn't Bostria say the only reason that Link teams have Sixth Sense is because of the cutter?
Yeah, something like that. So if we are going to do like an N5 wish list, a part of that N5 wish list for me is going to be, can we make Sixth Sense a little bit harder to achieve than it currently is? Not even because I'm playing the cutter. Just in general, that skill is just fucking insane how good it is.
I suppose the only issue is that it's not on many profiles.
Well, it's essentially just linked stuff, and then like some like random warbands, and then just literally just a smattering of random fucking profiles.
That's the thing. It's right now as it is. It's the fire team skill.
Yeah. I would still keep in fire teams, just maybe in like a pure 4-man or something like that.
Yeah, make it more purity locked.
Make it purity locked.
I might say you just put it up with
level 5.
5-man. Yeah.
Switch the BS attack +1 and the Sixth Sense for impurity and impure. Yeah. Fuck it, that'd be fine.
Yeah, whatever. We'll see.
I will. This is the fucking hill I'm willing to die on. Is that Sixth Sense is like the most broken part about being in a fire team.
Fairly certain they said they're reducing the power of fire teams across the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the old Sixth Sense allowing you to delay your ARO was great.
Oh yeah, let's not get into that. And then we give a little clap for the fire team chart.
Hey.
Because honestly, we take that for granted so much. If that got removed, I would stop making lists. I would be playing vanillas exclusively and stop making lists.
Yep, totally.
Boom, Morats, baby! They were so good, and Val was so mad. He was like, I hate Morats now. They look ugly.
And I don't necessarily disagree on looks, but it's mainly because it's a huge shift from what they used to look like. Like they went from these like cool like hunting lodges, they looked like a particular animal, and they went for I don't even know how to describe what they look like now.
They were Space Oni, yeah. They specifically designed them after Oni, like Japanese demons.
I'm definitely in like the minority of people where like I fucking adore the new Morad aesthetic. I love my Space Oni. I think they look so good.
The one fucking model that's always really annoyed me is that goddamn Zero. Why
Oh,
why does she have her
yeah.
fucking breathing tubes or whatever on the wrong side of her body? She's gonna break those off.
That is funny. What
Yeah,
an idiot.
that is a we designed the pose and then the fucking like bits around it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more that she's got such a big fuck off gun. How are you gonna fit the tubes over there?
Yeah.
Also,
The real estate we got in the front.
the start of an era and the end of an era where pure Morat links got terrain jungle.
Oh, yeah, it didn't matter.
And I was really Dante and I were talking about this so much. I was really hoping like the Joan of Arc link team or the big Pain Train links just got something extra for investing, 150, 200 points into them. But
I think that it's like Siri uses these things as testing grounds, and it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen in the future. N5 is the perfect opportunity for like a big update. They did say they're removing power from fire teams. Maybe they make them more of a skill gaining thing, a skill expression kind of thing.
I would love that.
5 Fennec Fusiliers together they already get Terrain Desert. Get MSV1 or that that would be silly.
well,
they get a particular skill because they I think that'd be dope. Like if it removes power for if it removes baseline power from the fire team itself and then shifts it towards more of a you build the fire team for the express purpose of gaining a skill. Oh man, that would be such a cool design space. I'd be be really keen to see
I'm
what
always
CB do with it. If they do something with it.
I suppose it'd be like interesting to have something like just as like a gaining skill thing, like a Moira team, they lose religious, like it converts to courage or something like that.
Yeah.
That's something that would be awesome.
I think
or even
I will
fire teams getting courage.
Yeah.
Like
I will always be in favor of like more skill expression in the game.
Yeah. Like a fire team, I think like fire teams gain like units that don't have courage gain courage when they're in a fire team. That is super thematic. It is a relatively minor change. Yeah, sure, people's Fusilier missile launcher is going to stick around for one more turn. Fuck, who cares? I think like that courage is actually a really good way of implementing that. And it's very thematic.
I think right now, fire team, like impure fire teams, I think are in a relatively good
sweet spot.
Right? They don't give too much power. You can still fight against them. I think though some of the pure
they do. They give too much power. They give way too much power.
Yeah,
Sixth Sense
is too strong.
Sixth Sense is too strong. It shouldn't be in the game. Well, it should be like Sixth Sense should be in the game. It shouldn't be attached to putting 4 Fusiliers on the table.
Yeah, maybe it's a case of either they get Sixth Sense and not the +1 BS, or they get the +1 BS and not Sixth Sense.
You just need to change Sixth Sense.
Yeah, you either change Sixth Sense or you just like I just want to see whatever the new fire team chart is going to look like, basically.
Yeah.
I'm just cautious of like
stop witch system.
Them making fire teams. I mean, it's they're pretty hard to do it, but to like make them like useless.
Because at the end of the day, you're still getting to like activate 5 troopers with a single order. Like that efficiency is always going to be worth the consideration, no matter how bad the overall thing is.
It's like they're still like some of them are still just there to be defensive, and taking away Sixth Sense stops them from having that defensive ability.
Well, you just attached to purity. Like a lot of those defensive fire teams are just because you need 9-point troopers to fill out slots in your thing because you're taking to like 30-point heavy infantry. If I'm using JSA as an example, I need to take 5 Kisotsu because I'm running a fucking Oyuroi. So, like, to take 5 Kisotsu and make them actually useful in the game, I need one of them needs to be a missile launcher. They have courage and they have Sixth Sense, so they're actually like a fairly good defensible thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just 4 Kisotsu and a missile launcher.
What I'd like to see actually is what I thought when the fighting bulls first dropped. What I thought happened, and I was wrong. Right, but that way you can sort of link it to that purity. Is that all the good bonuses are tied to purity, but purity is a number of same named troopers in a link. So I do the Riot Girl again. Instead of to get let's say Sixth Sense or whatever, you have to have 3 Riot Girls. You can't just have one and then a bunch of Morlocks. You have to have 3 Riot Girls, and then you can fill it out with the Morlocks to finish up the 5. Because the only real way they can punish players is with points. I just really don't want to see them punish players by restricting them from doing things via, like, you can't have these models do this thing.
Well, I mean, Sixth Sense isn't stopping you from shooting. It's
I know what I'm saying in my head, but I know I'm not getting it across properly.
Alrighty.
Yeah, that's fair.
August 2022, Operation Blackwind. The birth of the strongest N4 sectorial.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would argue with that.
No.
Assassins.
I fucking wish.
I thought it was Assassins.
Nothing in Blackwind did anything for Steel Phalanx.
No, but the whole sectorial got updated.
That's true, they did.
Yeah,
Yes, right.
It was
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
enormous number of fucking like buffs that the faction ended up picking up.
Yeah. The biggest thing is so many things just got 2 wounds.
Yeah.
Well, 2 wounds, gained shock immune, things changed. Like
there was a
Penthesilea is a really big one, but she was more outside of Steel Phalanx than in it. Like, she became an exceptional vanilla piece because of the changes.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, well, it was a case of taking her from being like Achilles, where she was only useful in vanilla because she was so fucking expensive, to where she works in Steel Phalanx now because she's not so bad.
She also benefit from the bike changes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she got a big points decrease because she already had mimetism.
Yeah. And then
I think she was 38 points before season 13.
Yeah, I think she was. No, I think she was 40.
She was Mim 6 as well. She was like Mim 6, like 1 wound with like a breaker combi, I think.
The biggest problem before you could not make her impetuous, she was and there wasn't shock immune. She was real squishy. She was a 40-point investment for something that wasn't worth. Now
she's a whip 14 2 wound specialist.
With
smoke.
Oh, she whip 13.
Yeah, she's whip 13. The other ones as well, like Uteros and Hippolyta, getting the updates they did, essentially made them compete for the same space in the fire team as Ajax, and I actually don't know, but I think people over time have definitely moved on to Uteros and Hippolyta over Ajax, just because you don't want to expose yourself to more hacking vulnerability than you already have with Guided.
By the way, Penthesilea before these changes, or at least an N3, 41 points.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
I'm fairly certain when I was building Vanilla Aleph lists before ITS Season 13 came out, she was 42. Oh no, she was 39 points because she'd gotten a bit cheaper in N4. Yeah,
Still Phalanx and N4 got decent buffs because they got cheaper, and then...
Sorry, it would have been ITS 14. I played Vanilla Aleph in ITS 13 because I used the bike changes with the motorized bounty hunter, but did take Penthesilea until the update.
Yeah, so unfortunately, none of the new profiles, as you mentioned, that they introduced in Blackwind were really groundbreaking.
Pandora now is... When she came out, I don't think people really realized her potential, but now, she is really good.
Yeah,
well, she is for another month
as well. Is something that's used in almost every, like in lots of Steel Phalanx lists.
Which one?
The Mackie.
Yes,
Mm.
yeah. The Mackie is sort of the like defensive piece,
Yeah.
similar to the Riot Girl now. The Mimetism and MSV1 make it a very good piece.
The Boktar,
Yeah,
the greatest unit of all
You
time.
fucking love the Boktar
It's
so much.
so amazing.
the Boktar is
Oh, it's amazing.
great.
I love it.
Did
The
they
way you
really
feel-
Complete change in tack from this podcast. Where 2 years ago, I believe somebody said the Boktar is the worst profile to ever be released.
I
by
remember.
TV.
I remember.
the way you feel about the Boktar is the way like I feel about the Sundok bot. I fucking love the Sundok bot. He's so cool.
It's so expensive to be a sixth of your list that sits there and AOROs things.
But it does it really well. I cannot tell you how many times I've like put really good active pieces into a Sundarbut, and it did not die. It's so tough. It's fucking nightmare to get rid of.
Just a little asshole with his little fucking viral rifle just pinging away at you.
Well,
But were there much other changes as far as Hakka's Lam went? Like there's the Boktar, the Sundok, but was there anything else really added?
just mostly different fire teams.
Yeah.
So there was a bit more wildcard nonsense.
It might have been. I think it was before this or close to the same time was where like the nerfs for the Avatar and like Vanilla Aleph came through as well. Might have been after. It was after this, I think. Actually,
Are you talking about the Netrod change?
the Netrod change.
No, I think
the
it
Avatar
was.
points increases.
It was the same update that Hippie got changed.
Yeah, it might have been that then.
Yeah, so I think around
It
this
all sort of
time.
blurs together.
Yeah.
It's a. I for whatever reason went to actually read my Blackwind book. So the biggest I think gripe a lot of people had was the Hoplite looks like he's armored as fuck and he's armor 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they
Like,
did
as
the
a
same thing
shield.
for Torchlight, and we're like, "Oh my god, what does the shield mean? It means armor 3 and nothing else."
Yeah, but as it turns out, lore-wise, his armor is just really good at dealing with special ammo. It's probably the same as the Hellraiser or whatever it's called.
Except
Yeah,
they
so
didn't
that's
get
why
TI.
he's total immune. Yeah, cool.
All right.
Imagine.
Hey,
Ooh,
Bishi.
Bishi. That's a big old Bishi. This is
Yeah.
actually a pretty big season.
It is, yeah.
Thunderclap. Civivac rework. Much desired and much needed. That's just like another little pain point where, oh, the civs only move 4 inches.
I just take it back to as we're comparing N3 to N4. And you didn't have to do it much, but in N3, if you failed the Civivac roll, which doesn't happen now, but if you failed it, the civilian became hostile and then became harder to make the roll.
And they'd run away.
Yeah, they run away 2 inches.
It was so stupid.
It was so funny.
So that's excellent. It makes the
I had someone
Montesa even
try and
better.
I had someone try and tell me that in N4. They were like, "Oh no, you failed the roll. The Civ starts trying to run away from you now." I'm like, I don't think
I don't think that's how that
sound
works.
It works like that.
Yeah. Direct action missions. They were kind of great for the slow grow, to be honest. Great
Yeah.
to introduce people. Nice, simple missions. Yeah. Pretty great. Takamoto's. I love Takamoto's because that was my
Oh.
year of assassins. But
Yeah, same. Hakka's Lam became fucked. Especially
Well-
Assassins became fucked with Takamoto's on.
Well, yeah, it was Hacker's Lam and it was Starmado once the road bot became introduced because you could duo the copper bot and the road bot, and it was like, I spent 2 orders and I moved 20 something inches up the table. Good luck.
Yeah.
it did bring back the love for the sensor bot, though.
Yes.
I think we see it a lot more than we used to, even after the rules kind of gone away. And I think
Yeah.
people kind of appreciate a 6-4 specialist for 15 points is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, I found myself putting them in lists actually every now and then. Weirdly, I'm like, oh yeah, this fits.
I think probably the biggest thing is that it let people be like, what's this sensor thing that my guy has? And they looked at it and went like, oh, my meta's filled with guys that take tack and there's a million camo tokens on the board. You're saying that I can go up and practically guarantee discover 3 at a time?
Yeah.
Cryogenics, in my opinion, the best mission of N4. And I
Yep.
don't even think it's close.
Nah, 100%. Big fan. Cryogenics was so good.
Cryogenics was great.
I suppose the only thing is it did have some teething problems figuring out the scoring.
Yes. Some people required a flow chart on how to figure out the scoring, but I think once you played it, 2 or 3 times, it became pretty intuitive.
Cryogenics was great.
Love Cryogenics.
I think I'm just sort of going to go back to attacking Redos a little bit. N4 was really, I think N4 was really showed CB's ability to stretch themselves in terms of like those seasonal rules. Like, I mean, tags getting fatality 1 and attack awareness was great, but like, testing out things like the bike change, and like making the Sensibot more relevant by doing that thing, really, really cool. Even now with border skirmishes, Ultra Prestige less so, but they're like, it shows that there's still some design space in Infinity, even without like sectorial or faction specific rules, which is what they tried to sort of get rid of in N4. So having things like the Takamotos just really showed CB's. I'm sounding a bit too much like fucking Val now. But it just showed that they're not, CB doesn't want this to be stagnant. They want to keep changing and updating things. Sure, at the moment that's resurrecting Patroclus in fucking Combined Army. But I think the Takamoto's was the best season rule that Infinity's ever produced, and I'm not afraid to say that.
Well, it's like the most comprehensive rule by far, right? Like it's really
good.
It was good. It was good that like it's also credit to CB. This really goes back to whenever N1, N2, however you want to do it. The way that they've put this game together is that they can make these tiny little changes, test them out, in a space and with people who often are quick to get outraged. So kudos for them for being brave on that front. But they can just be like, we'll try out this tiny thing for 6 months, and if it doesn't work, it's gone. Right? If it does work, we put it into an FAQ, and it's everywhere.
Yep.
Adding on to that, they've added this season. They added turrets, they added decompression zones, they added the Evo bonus, and they added super jumping Maruts and Yodems. And extra free units.
Turrets were turrets first introduced in
season 14.
Wow, what?
Yeah,
they were worth too in season 14.
Yes, they were S1 with 0 armor.
Yep.
I don't like looking back and seeing super jumping Maruts though. I'm glad that's gone.
Was that just because
they had terrain total?
They terrain total.
So terrain total, and I believe it was low gravity zone. Allowed models with terrain total or terrain 0G to super jump, which is I took a lot of Achilles version 1 that season.
Yeah.
Because could also
super jumping Achilles version 1 was very fun.
And you would sometimes get 7 inches of movement because some of the missions had +1 movement if you had those skills.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that was no gravity zone. So there's low gravity, no gravity. Low gravity, super jump, no gravity, +1 inch.
And it's also just like, this shit was fun. For 6 months, you just fuck around with something stupid. Everybody gets to do it. Most people have some version of it, and then it goes away, and you're like, okay, what's the next silly thing we can
just
do?
rock up to a CanCon and have like 12 people playing either OSS or vanilla Aleph, and just have Marud off every fucking round. Woo! You can't tell I'm salty about super jumping Maruds.
I did until you wrote it down. I'd never experienced it, so I don't know what you went up against.
No, All right. April 2023. It doesn't
Hey.
feel like long, but the first Unicool plastic resin model is released.
Ooh.
So this is the first of the new material after Cyrocast.
Yes.
Yeah, and this
yeah.
stuff is the shit.
Yep. So
Yeah.
the ITS 14 big tournament pack came with the IR and the Marut, and they were both in the new plastic resin. And they are great. I love them.
Yeah,
I have the
they're
IR
awesome.
and it's beautiful.
I have the Marut still in its package.
This was the one where, like, I love the IR. I know that the profile is overcosted and garbage. But this was the first one where I was like, I'm going to buy myself an ITS special pack just so I can have these two models for myself. They were great.
It's also your favorite update, Jacob, because this is the Bakunin update.
I wish I was better player because I am so good.
We added the Stig. We got Agatha. I believe this podcast even mentioned that maybe Agatha could use shock immune and extra stuff. And I think she got it.
And was and costed too much and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And then I think literally after we posted the episode, we looked and were like, "Oh, sweet."
Hey, look, everything's fixed.
Yeah. So,
but it was pretty obvious that she had
I love how
her profile wasn't put together the way that they wanted it to.
Nah, I like how they updated Sin Eaters and they're still not played.
Yeah,
they made them really good too, and they're still not played.
Still not played.
They just, I mean, I think that goes that potentially goes to how good fire teams are because they're just not better than a fire team.
No, they're not.
No.
Yeah, because I remember playing Nuns once in N3. I was like, I'm just going to see how these guys go. They were garbage because they were old medium infantry. That's another change we should do. Medium infantry being 4-2 for the most part was changed to 4-4 and N4, except for one particular example, which is the grunts.
Yeah.
Yep. And having 4 inches of free deployment because they were 4-2.
Yeah. Oh, that was a tournament rule.
That was a tournament rule?
Yeah. So
can't wait to see more plastic.
Yeah, and and Brando got a full kind of flip in his profile. He's very different to what he used to be.
Yeah, he's pretty much a different profile.
Yeah.
Reinforcements. Ooh, big hit, big miss. You decide.
I don't think anyone would say they were a hit.
Yeah.
Well, you never know.
Profiles are great.
Profiles are great.
Yeah, profile's banging.
It's just that the way Infinity plays, the idea of having 100 points off the board that you don't potentially get to see until last turn just didn't work.
Nope.
Yep. Kind of felt limited and unpolished, and the whole comlink rule was kind of forced in there for no real reason, I feel like.
Well, because like in sectorals, it seemed like they kind of wanted you to like nest the comlink in a fire team, but then when your reinforcements came down, the comlink went and joined the reinforcements group.
Well, the other thing was
it was a choice. You didn't have
a choice. Okay,
the other thing was you didn't need the comlink alive or relevant doing anything to get the reinforcements. It just had to be in the list.
Yeah,
so it just felt like a list building limitation more than anything else.
My only issue, sure, reinforcements was pushed out, blah 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 blah. Like that's neither here nor there. My only issue with what they did when there was backlash about it was when they added, and this comes later on, obviously in the in this timeline, this chronology. When they added the profiles, there were no points changes. So you get ridiculous things like the one in the fucking middle there, the
Kulak.
The Kulak heavy rocket launcher is like 22 points, BS-13, which is a -3. Goes in a 5-man or a 3-man link in Tunguska. It is absolutely disgusting, and it is so cheap. It's a medium infantry. Yeah, here you go. Heavy rocket launcher, pulsar +1 burst, multi-pistol, 1.5 SWC, 22 points. BS attack shock, immunity shock, mimetism -3, religious, terrain total, BS 13.
Yeah, it's a cracked profile.
It
and
is
multi-pistol
a
as well.
nuts profile. And like it's the only one in there that's worth fucking taking. And it is absolutely nuts. Like they need to go through and revisit all of those reinforcement profiles because they were made to be cheaper because they didn't have one, they were designed to go into a combat group that only had 100 points allocated to it, and two, they were forward deploying units that didn't have those skills.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of the close combat units, so like maybe perhaps for example, the JSA ones that just got released are like really, really expensive for things that are DZ bound that can't fire team in JSA as they are currently. So you just have these like profiles there. Like some of them are fucking cracked. The Kulak, one of them. Apaches, another one.
Rounder.
The Rounder, also good. Fucking nomads.
The Darwan.
The Darwan TACbot, incredible.
The Riksha. All
The
those
Hate
kinds of
and the
things.
Doka Boy.
I was about
like,
to
I
say
mean,
the one
but
with the guided HRL.
The Hatay and the Doka people, they were integrated into White Banner, right? They were like, you know, and they're very like the Hatay is so cheap, it's ridiculous. I said so in the super heavy inventory episode. It's ridiculously good.
It's like
how
low 40s, isn't it?
It's 36.
30s, 36.
Oh fuck me.
Yeah, it's so good.
The Hate is insanely cheap.
Yeah, so I think there needs to be a points revisit when it comes to those reinforcements profiles because they are very powerful. Some of them are incredibly powerful and incredibly undercosted. But you know, that's just
I mean, I
one
haven't
man's
gone through.
opinion.
I haven't gone through them all, but I feel like the only ones they really like quote unquote got right were the ones that already had like points existing in their army. So like the Prowler, for
Well,
instance.
because like they didn't even add some of them in as well. Like they didn't add in any of the Azrael profiles, which I think people were upset about.
There was one new Azrael profile that had a +1 burst heavy shotgun.
Yeah, I know Trent in particular is unhappy that we didn't get the punchy Swiss guard.
That would have been
I
cool.
just go with dope.
That
I
would
know,
have
I
been cool.
agree. I thought it would be really cool.
All right, guys. Boom. September 2023.
God.
New order. New missions. B-Pong. Bum, bum. Evacuation. Last launch. Big thumbs up. Good job, Lost Lieutenant.
Hell yeah, Dante.
O12 Prestige. I see people going, I kind of enjoyed it a little bit, but as Nick says, it was kind of like, I like having things to spend my command tokens on.
Yeah.
Now that I've played a few games without it, I can definitely see that it was a kind of a big power spike for certain factions. Border skirmishes, excellent, love it. Resilience ops, I actually really like resilience ops because it kind of
Res Ops is super cool.
yeah, it lets you open up list building.
I mean, it lets you really experiment with, like I'm gonna make the fightiest of fighty links, so armies, and I get to see how good that is in a mission where, it doesn't really matter how not specialized I am.
Yeah.
And the QAZ, which is my personal favorite seasonal extra.
Yeah, I am in fact the one who added in the best seasonal mission extra of all time.
I love
I
those
think
little
they are
bastards.
phenomenal. They changed the dynamic of a bunch of previously, I think, people thought kind of solved missions like supplies.
Yeah.
And they are just, they're just fucking phenomenal at what they do.
The good thing about the crazy creatures is it gives you the option of, you know, in a mission that like is great for specialists, if someone spams specialists, you're like, well, I guess you don't have any CC, so deal with this little motherfucker that's near your objective.
That is kind of what I liked about them as well. It's like they force you to branch out in your list process. Like I'm playing missions with QAZ creatures, I need to take something to deal with it. It forces you to have a plan instead of just going, ooh, I take big stompy thing and run across the table and press button.
Yeah, like you can't just like throw a tag at it either. It's like, okay, like fucking, it's damage 14 AP. Like you're not going to enjoy this.
Yeah, it's very good. I I kind of like the updated decompression zones as well. Only having
Yeah.
one on the table. I'm not super hot about the damage, but having only one on the table made it less likely that you just throw 4 of them in a corner somewhere and they don't get used.
I think the biggest thing about it was that if you use them properly, depending on the armor you picked, they were Mario Kart boost pads.
Yeah. Not
Well, no, not in this season. There's no.
No, that's
like,
what he
No,
that's what he means. That's
before,
what he means.
before.
That's what he means before.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Now they are what they were trying to be, which is these blockers.
Yeah.
They were like, boom, we put it there. You do not want to be in it.
Excellent
All
spots to put HVTs.
Yes.
Because like if I remember quickly, even with total terrain, the only thing that stops is you having to stop in the thing. Right, you still take the damage if you start your order inside of it.
Yeah, total terrain doesn't change the damage.
Yeah, so all they did was they changed it to, for some people, like I remember I had a situation where I was running Brando away and capture protect, and like when I run through this, I get faster.
Yeah.
Right, now they are exactly what they should be, which is you put them somewhere where you want to block something. Right, if you can see an alleyway where, like, if I don't block this off, you're going to come down here too quickly and have too many orders to spend on your gunfighter for 1,000,000 orders. Boom, there's my zone that stops you from hopefully running through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
finally,
I like them.
The new classified deck, which for some wasn't as new as they wanted, and for others was too new with too many cards.
The only, like, the cards were great because you got the resilience operations and all that, and I enjoyed the reduction in number of cards.
They combined some cards together, like Engineer
No,
and Doctor.
same number of cards.
Same,
Yeah, same
there's still
number of
20
cards. I'm thinking of early N3 classified deck that had 40 cards. Yeah, these were great. They got rid of like the idea of like combining
Engineering
test
and
run
doctoring.
and experimental medicine into just combat support or whatever it's called. So the healing ones into one was great. And then the only issue I have with this one is that the rollout took so long for some people that that it took forever for everybody to get these decks, which is weird because I don't know, Wizards of the Coast get tons of cards out very easily.
Yeah, but they are a card making company.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I have to personally say I wish there was a bit more of a change and maybe a bit of a riskier change, especially after you guys ran the whole make a new classified deck challenge and some of the entries were really cool, and CB kind of decided to make more, I wouldn't say generic, but kind of more difficult cards than they released, like Assassinate, and then there's cards where you have to do it to a specific type of trooper with a specific type of...
I should say they did release one. They did release one fewer card cards in the new classified deck, because Assassination is a dead card and it shouldn't ever be drawn. Take it out of your decks, rip it up. It sucks.
Yes, I can't imagine them like I don't understand why the cards aren't balanced around the ease of, like, some cards are like a single whip order from a specialist in the midfield, and other ones are like run your LT at a HVT and delete him.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah, I suppose that was the one time where they maybe reintroduced a couple of like feels bad moments. Because if you're a faction with not a lot of NCO or chain of command, Assassination is near impossible. You always feel great when you draw net runner.
Net undermine.
Net undermine, and always shitty when you bring out mapping or the ones you were talking about where you have to like do it to a certain type of troop. if you're across the table and you're playing Hak Islam and you draw the do something to heavy infantry and you're just like, well,
shit.
fuck.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right, it's all light infantry and he decided not to take robots.
Oh boy.
Well, I'm fairly certain they changed those heavy infantry ones to be heavy infantry, medium infantry, veteran, or elite troops. So a lot of those are.
I think
heavy.
follow up is still medium or heavy infantry only.
Is it? There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Follow-up's not too bad. It's just like the one where it's like, run your HI up the table and make him touch a tag or remote or whatever. I can't remember the card because I never pick it.
BS attack soul with a gizmo kit, even though you can't target enemy troopers with a gizmo kit.
It's a funny one.
That was so funny. One of the stream games, Callum was playing against Ivory, and Ivory's like, "I hack you," and Callum's like, "I shoot you with a med dart."
That's funny. And then they asked me as I was walking past the table if you could bring up your enemy's models with a med dart. I'm like, no, stop that. Bad Ivory.
Oh my god, guys! Did any of you buy Go-Go Marlene?
I got 2.
No.
You're 2.
Yeah,
Still in the box.
they are. Yeah.
Nice.
No, I've never liked this model at all.
I had designs on turning them into my impersonation markers. So impersonation level.
Oh, that's right. I remember your
Impersonation
plans
level
for
1
that.
was just Go-Go Marlene, and then impersonation level 2 was Go-Go Marlene with a sword instead of a microphone. So it's like,
It's like, where's
Is
the
that-
Go-Go? Where'd you get that sword
is-
from? And
is
she's like,
that
don't worry
famous-
about it.
is that famous journalist Go-Go Marlene? Why does famous journalist Go-Go Marlene have a gun?
Don't worry about
it. So I actually really enjoyed that CB brought out some of the old sculpts to sell again.
Yeah.
It's great for them as like just raking in the cash.
Yeah,
And-
I have a tick. I got a tick as well.
Yeah, I got to take.
I do partially wonder if this is them, because this is something that Games Workshop have done for a little bit, done like built to order old models that people really wanted. I wonder whether they looked at that, because that's generally been pretty successful, and whether they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I wonder how well
because
Toho went.
the GW one isn't like limited time. It's GW Direct where like they have to ship it to you from them. Like it's not something you
Yeah.
can get in store.
Mm.
It's a little bit different from what the Happy Day sales were.
Well, they had the built to order ones where they did like RK on foot for a small amount of time.
Mm.
I mean, this would be great for CB to do like every holidays and just be like, we'll just release our exclusive miniatures, like the old Gen Con.
Unknown Ranger. That's what I want.
Unknown Ranger, the Gen Con Intel Spec Ops, the one that's got like the real SAS looking one.
The dart with the bow. She's pretty cool.
Start with the bow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
stuff
an
like that.
RSA model.
Don't care.
No,
Give it to me.
there's a one you could get for the pre-order where that's the really good one, not the boring one where she's just got the sword and is standing there.
No, there's a dart. So the dart with a bow is an Aristeo model.
It's something like that. I don't remember.
It's it's one of the metal Aristeo skins.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Like-
you are right about that. Yeah.
Well, I know
I
because
mean-
I've got one new in box.
Yeah. To be honest,
in my
like,
pile of
still-
shame.
I've got it sitting around somewhere. Still, my favorite dart is the bloody Tracer one, the actual Aristeo one.
Mm.
Alrighty.
Oh,
Ooh.
there he is.
Ho,
Come
ho,
Gutters
ho.
Connolly, baby.
Boys. Now, the top line kind of doesn't matter. Rem Racers, cool game. Not about Infinity. Reinforcements Army Update. This was a big shake-up.
Oh, yeah.
OSS, Y banner, stonks go up.
Tunguska's just as much as those other two.
Tunguska stonks go up.
Tunguska is so sleeper. I don't know anyone who's playing it apart from Dante, and they are strong.
They are really good.
Strong.
I know, well, Rob Cantrell did a couple of battle reports with them, and he was super high on them.
They're very
just-
good.
It just hasn't seemingly caught on as much as you would expect. I don't know. I kind of want to play Tunguska as maybe my next tutorial army.
I literally, honestly think it's because you open up Tunguska and you have to scroll all the way down to the very bottom to see the biggest change, which is the Zellenkrieger and Den Connolly and everything. to be like, oh fuck, we've got actual smoke throwing warbands now.
Well, honestly,
That-
the rounder as well, giving you a really good NCO that punches down to like light infantry super efficiently.
And they
Yep.
get the Kulak, don't they, with
They
chain of
do.
command?
do.
Which means you could, if you really wanted to, Rambo your
You're not taking the
Interventor.
Kulak for chain of command. You're taking Kulak for a 22-point heavy rocket BS-13 heavy
Well,
rocket
do
launcher.
both. Why not both?
Well, because of availability.
Are they only availability one? They're
I don't know,
availability two.
Yeah. Oh well, you're not taking two. It's fine.
No,
Yep.
like Dan McConnelly just ending up in like 4 different sectorals, and he's fucking exceptional in all of them.
Speaking of Rob Cantrell, French becomes a playable faction.
Yeah.
Because of the patches?
Because pretty much Apaches. Pretty much
Yeah.
letting you burst to berserk something while having NWI shock immune is really good.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, look, every faction's playable.
I don't. Is Onyx there really just because they got the Cascuda?
Honestly, Onyx is there because Hector played them and came second to BCB.
Yeah.
Onyx is the extra profiles are
They're
great.
really good. The
They're very
MSV2 Mimetism Spitfire
Yeah, the
is like
vector
high
operator,
20s or something.
Yeah,
It's
The
super
vector
good.
operator is very good.
yeah.
I don't know. I suppose I'm complaining about them being squishy, but I'm never going to pick them back up if they die. So why am I worried about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Oh, my favorite update.
Oh, also I'll just go for Onyx Contact Force, 19-point chain of command.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Unrequired.
Torchlight.
The fucking prime brain rot. Fucking weeks of it.
Hype, Josh, hype. Torchlight, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, these guys.
We played him for a bit and went, yeah, cool. I'm getting picked on a bit too much. Let me play something normal.
I don't think there was a profile that they brought out in this sectorial, other than maybe like the basic dudes, the Silver Star Rovers, that is not like, even the Rovers are pretty incredible. It's just a bit expensive. Everything in this fucking release was just an incredible model, both visually, but from an actual abilities perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I think Torchlight still has potential. If people lose the focus on the really expensive guns like the Prime and the Wrecker, I think, Stormbots and stuff really do. Like, Stormbots are as good as any gun's going to get in a faction, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I don't know if it was you, Josh, was playing, or someone else who was like Hippolyta, and then 2 other mimetism things. I think the Wave Rider and one that has MSV 2 and
I was
multi-rifle.
I was playing Hippolyta, Cludger, Nimrod, and that was cracked. They all have super jump. Hippolyta just fucks around. The Nimrod just deletes things because it's got an AP shock marksman rifle. And it's
Grip smoke.
in mimetism neg3 and MSV2, and just like can super jump. It's got 6-2 super jump. Just
Yeah.
pew. So
And, like, the worst comes to worst, it's a Hippolyta delivery method.
It is. Yeah.
Like, you go at the beginning of my turn before I count my orders, I break this fire team. She's now impetuous. Good luck.
So I think the running theme with extremely good factions, and unfortunately Torchlight kind of missed on this regard, is having cheap warbandy type of units that trade up really well. So all the factions that got better pretty much in the reinforcements update, being like
have you played with Moonrakers though?
Yeah, but they're 16-point Libertos.
Yeah, true.
I think the other thing, I think the overarching story, to me at least, of the sectoral updates in N4, with the action packs especially, is CB exploring the design space of like those S5 heavy infantry models, where they don't just have to be a really big gun. You could see some really cool utility profiles, like we saw with like the 22-point Kaitok.
Yeah.
And they really did decide to push the boundary of, well, just how good of a gun can we actually make with the Prime?
really
Turns
good.
out
So
real
long
good.
as it, really good. So long as it doesn't get AP.
I suppose it's another thing. I mean, if we just cast our minds back to the Bikunin update, is also taking a look at making a tag not just the big gun platform.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the stickers.
What happens if we make them actually a specialist?
Stig
How
dies
do
to
we-
fuck you gun. That's all I know.
So is
Everything
like,
dies to fuck you gun.
yeah, but it's like, how can we make a tag a specialist and not make them overpowered? And I think whatever testing they did or whatever worked, because I think the Stig is in a really good spot where it's not hugely overpowered.
Stig's great.
But it fits well in a lot of missions where hacking bonus is king. It fights decently well. You know, they did a good job with the Stig.
Yep.
Stig is genuinely exceptional.
Stig is very
Yeah.
good.
But it's exceptional because it fits in its like slot really well. It's not like an insane profile.
Hmm.
It's not a BTS 9 Prime. I'm still surprised I ever managed to Oblivion your Prime, Tristan.
It saves on 12.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Oblivion is a very strong program.
I'm amazed I managed to do it.
No, like there is nothing to be amazed about.
My
Like, you
Prime
cut its
dies to
BTS
everything.
down to 5s. It saves on 12s. It's not that. It's not that impressive.
Well, guys, having said that, I've played 2 editions, and N4 was definitely the best one.
Yeah. I think
I've played 1 edition, and N4 was one of the best ones.
I really liked N4. It was lots of fun.
yeah. I'll admit I was probably one of the N4 N3 purists. I probably kicked up a lot of shit about the proposed changes.
God damn it! It was your Reddit threads I was reading.
I don't post that much on Reddit.
Yeah, not anymore.
But having seen the dust settle, let CB do whatever tweaks they needed. Where I don't know if they really got anything wrong at the beginning of N4. All of my complaints are at least nothing compared to the health that they brought back to Infinity, where N3 was seeing a lot of just bloat, but not in sort of a good way. I suppose it's just there was just so much garbage to try and remember that it was just impossible. And so CB clearly looked at it and said, we've got a choice to make. We either try and keep profiles looking and sounding sci-fi-y. So things like keeping ODD, ICOL, hyperdynamics and kinematica. All right, we keep those words right in there and retain some level of confusion. Or we figure out a better, smarter way to do it and rely on the fact that people will come into this game, use their imagination, and still think things are cool.
Well, they just, and what they do, how they do it is very good, which is they release these books that have the lore in them. The book that's coming out at the start of M5 is purely lore. And you can read about why the Odalisks have -6 to their, CC attack. You can read about what ICOL was and, stuff. And, all that lore is still available. Available. So it's, you can separate the lore from the rules, and that's what they did. Also, what they did with N4 is they reduced the complexity in the profile, but kept the complexity in the rules.
And
that's where I think where people bounced off in N3, where both the rules were very complicated and profiles were very, very difficult to read. So now you've got a kind of easing point in, the profiles are now easier to read. They make much more sense looking at them. As a person who came in to wargaming during N4, wargaming completely in N4, I did a little bit of 40k stuff, when I was 20 years ago when I was 12, but I never actually played a game. having the only thing that I really had to learn being the rules and not what the words on the profiles meant, just meant that like it just made like learning the game so much easier.
Yeah.
And so I like, yeah, you're right. They might have lost some sort of, some of the charm of that sort of sci-fi setting by, not having, this person is armed with Abaddon the Black's claws. But
Technically, Josh, those are the talons of Horus.
oh, sorry, the Talons of Horus. Actually, the
I'm
Talons.
actually.
So that's that's sort of I like
Yeah.
that. They're my thoughts about N4. N4 did a really good job of simplifying both. Like they did a good job of simplifying profiles, but keeping the complexity in the rules, which is where it belongs.
Yeah. And we're gonna see the same thing with N5 coming out, where some people are gonna have a momentary issue with how they're changing the damage, why high damage things that technically have low numbers, but it's all for the better of the health of the game, right? It means now when we go into N5, we can say to a new player, to succeed, it is under or equal to a number, and then just tell them how to do the math. We don't have to have the occasion where you go, oh, except for armor saves.
Yeah, except for armor save.
Sure, for like guys like us who have played, it's going to take some adjustment, but ultimately, it's going to be for the best.
It's like the numbers are the same. You just have to roll under now instead of over.
The N5 wishlist episode is going to go hard. I'm keen for that one.
It'll be good. It'll be good. Well, I was going to say something else. I think what CBA are exploring now, and I think it's what they did. They started doing with the Prime, and they might have started doing slightly beforehand. Was when they denested skills, what they did is they opened up design space for other things. So when they
That's exactly my thought as well.
When they denested skills by going, okay, so iCol was CC -6, right? Let's change it into CC -6, and let's write a rule that says any negative number in a bracket applies to your opponent, any positive rule applies to you if you use that skill. And now what you've got is like Pandora having dodge -6, or the Rindak having dodge -3. You've got the Prime with BS attack -3. You've now got the Hatamoto with no cover and nano screen. Two of which rules we don't actually know of what they are, but like if they interact like at all similarly to how like N4 currently works, it's going to be really quite strange to look at. So you've got these things, this ability to basically just throw a word out and a number, and really change like how profiles are written, and what profiles are out there. Yeah. So they
like denesting damage on CC weapons from physique.
That's really good. It allows for like teeny tiny tweaks in things that you can just do to make interesting profiles without using fucking words like Protheon or iCol or assault hacking device.
It also meant that they could experiment with like profiles that were impossible to do in M3. So the best I can think of is the Agima marksments. The fact that they just are given hidden deployment, they don't need TO camouflage.
Yeah.
Right? It means you can have things that have mimetism and hidden deployment, but don't have a camouflage state, which I think the Hadir has in
the Nadir
Assassins.
And the Prowler have hidden deployment but no camo state.
Or the fact that you can have probably the biggest thing is that you can now have martial arts and you don't necessarily get stealth, so your Jimbo isn't riding an electric motorbike anymore.
Hell yeah, brother.
But he does get stealth when you get off the motorbike.
Yeah, but like things like the what's it called? The Guija gets martial arts, not stealth, but the Oyaroi gets martial arts. I think it gets stealth as well.
Yeah, stealth, yeah.
Yeah, so they're able to like make these granular. Like we lost the fancy names, sure, but then what we got was
A better
the
game.
ability. But you also got the ability to be like,
Just a wider
the
design.
Oyuroi is unique. It is this cool samurai ninja tag. The Guija just is okay at fighting with its weapon.
Yeah.
So you've translated the like lore and fanciness of the game from fancy names to, oh, this is what it means to be this thing.
And if you just use your imagination, it's the same thing.
I mean, if you're not making headcanon while playing this game, I don't know what you're doing.
Look, in my headcanon, fucking Achilles and Patroclus they're the best roommates. It is written that they were roommates.
I don't even think that's
I
headcanon.
already like had in my headcanon, because of the way I painted up my steel phalanx, that they were evil, that they were like stormtroopers that Aleph sent down to clean things up, which turns out is kind of what they do in
Yeah, I
the
was about
lore.
to say, isn't like the description of Achilles, I think that has been said before, it's like, yeah, he's basically just like a war crime stick.
Yeah, pretty much. And like that was my idea, is that the steel phalanx are not nice, and it turns out they're not.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help. I don't know.
Well, guys.
You had an idea about this one, Tristan? A favorite release or something?
Ooh, yes. So, N4, what was your guys' favorite release?
I'm gonna have to go back through the
model-wise, potentially.
The new Datarati.
Not necessarily like profile release, but like models. So Datarazi, I agree. They are ballin'.
They're so cool. They are so gorgeous. Like, and they are also a return to that like the monkey aesthetic, instead of just being space only. But they're still pretty distinct from like the old type of Morats as well.
Yeah.
Like especially the I don't know what the style is with their swords. Like they look like fucking the Uruk-hai swords from Lord of the Rings. Like that. They look like industrial fucking like cleavers. They look so fucking good. I love everything about the new Morat aesthetic, and the Datarazzi just embodies so much of that.
I'm gonna have to go like the Hisassen releases, because they were pretty as fuck. Everyone was gushing over that new Daylami with the sword, and I know how useless swords are on good models, but yeah,
good models.
It seems like every model with CC15 gets a sword.
Yeah, I found it too criminal to use that as a Datarazi. That's one of my fidays.
The Daylami, yeah, it makes sense.
He's too good. It's too good of a model to be wasted on a Daylami.
What about you, Joshy?
Oh man, it's actually real tough. This is actually
Is it not just the new Oyuroi? That's what I thought it would be for you.
It's a bitch to put together.
No, it's not that bad. Oh, it actually is a struggle. Let me have a quick look. Some things. I'll just refresh my memory.
I'll say.
I think it's actually Bishi.
Yeah.
The ITS or general release?
The ITS one.
Good man.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like Bishi a lot.
Yeah, she looks really good.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to change my answer. It's the Nomad Reinforcements Mars Spiders. Fuck, they're dope.
The Mars Spiders
they're
look super
fucking
cool.
dope.
Right. They're one of they're probably one of the few profiles that I think also, when they got released into the wider armies, they actually kind of got right. Because if you compare them to the Orphan Engineer, they're about the right points. Bit more combat, bit more combat-y, little less shooty.
Supporty.
Yeah.
The Orphans have the Repeater and is an engineer, and the Mars Spider's kind of like burst 2cc, heavy flamethrower kind of deal.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob, hit me. Favorite model release.
Was the Marut redesign N3? N4, sorry.
No, N4. Yeah, N4 was the move.
Yeah, I'll go the Marut redesign, because while I like the old rabbit booby model, it's a nightmare to put together. The little shoulder pads that the old model have just don't fit on it. And the redesign was great.
I love the redesign actually.
New Marut's really good.
I think the ITS are like a little bit better.
Yeah, I could see
I-
either way.
I just really like the just how good the Marut. Like I don't know what it is. It's like the fact that the forearms look so natural on it, and it's like
Yeah.
using them all to do different things. It's like just very
It's-
clean.
It's very
clean
sleek, and it
design.
reminds you of what a 100-point tag should look like.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you've got like the ITS is I'm ready and shooting my gun, and the other one is I'm like sort of charging in. Kind of.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to. I think, depending on how this N5 goes, I might play OSS and start running an ALF and start running the Marut a bit.
Fuck yeah.
There are some really cool OSS lists you can build after the Fireteam update, especially. Like Marut lists are pretty good right now as well, honestly.
Yeah. I'm not. But before we end up, I'm not going to huge into this because I know probably a lot of people don't care too much. But N4 was also a big, huge change rules-wise for Toha. Symbiote mates went up, down. Tech wheel officers went up as far as their power goes. I'd love to see, considering that they're kind of turning into the big bad for a little bit by like blowing up and causing all the quantum shit. It'd be nice to see them. Like they got a good amount of support, and I'm just hoping CB continue that.
Well,
Yeah.
Spiral's dying and Tohan's staying alive. So they might kind of be
Spiral
merged
is-
together.
That's fine. Spiral, like I said, that was probably one of the worst things they ever did to Spiral was with the fire team rules. Tricore got absolutely fucked.
Mm.
Tricore needed to be your Harris counts as a pure 5-man, not a impure 5-man.
Yeah.
Because you just lost any reason to run Spiral.
All right, guys. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to see you all again in N5.
Or sooner.
It
Very
can't
much
come
sooner.
soon. It can't come soon enough. Just want to play it.
Head us off, Jacob. Ooh, what do you want to say, Jordan?
It feels like CVs sort of have been crunched by the release schedule they originally said of the late October.
Yeah.
And now they're stretching out a lot less content for longer because they have to wait like an extra half a month. So I feel, man, they could head off a lot of the Doom posting if they just released some faction lists or just information, but
They could stop all the doom posting if they just release what the fuck's going on with Steel Phalanx.
yeah.
That's literally it. People just saw.
Yeah, they created the Doom posting.
That
They
was.
did.
I mean, I didn't realize. I was like, I literally went to the Human Sphere, like the wiki for Infinity. I was like, where the fuck did all this Pandora stuff come from? Because it's not in the book.
It's literally written on there, yeah.
It's literally like on a post, on like the blog posts. I was like, oh, Pandora's always been a problem.
Well, what do you mean? She named Pandora. What did you
I know, but like,
It's in End Song as well. You need to read End Song again.
I unfortunately have to. Yeah, Kev has the one copy of End Song I ever had access to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, her name is Pandora. What did you expect from the fucking chick who holds the box of all humanity's evils?
Yeah.
Or named after
After.
said chick.
Alrighty,
All right.
guys.
Give us
Jacob.
Heracles, come on.
Send us off.
Well, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of Lost Lieutenant. I've been Jacob.
I've been
Josh.
Tristan.
And I've been Jordan, and I was patient, and I got my voice out.
Good night, everybody.